Are we live?
Yeah.
Holy shit. For reals?
For realsy.
The Joe Rogan Experience podcast is brought to you by The Fleshlight. I'm a stumbling fuck, you know that? When I start these things off, it's almost like maybe I should pretend to do a podcast for like 10 minutes before I do a podcast just to warm my fucking stupid face up.
Well, it's also the freshness of just coming off of getting stoned, too. We're like super...
The world is listening. Jesus, Brian. Back to our sponsor.
We don't work for ESPN.
The Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Imagine if we did.
Yeah. I was listening to that, man. Josh Gross. That was interesting. He can't...
Panicked.
That's weird hanging out with people that can't... Because we're so used to hanging out with comics. Hanging out with somebody that has to be like, oh, I can't smoke something because I don't want to get fired.
Well, not only that, he's a writer.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You want the writers to suck?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want the writers to smoke weed? Are you crazy? Do you not want colorful prose? Do you not want, an imaginative piece? Do you not want something that engages you and captures your imagination and lets you think, wow, this guy is coming from a very unique point of view? Instead of the same tired old stupid shit. Listen, ESPN, let your people have some flavor.
Yeah, it's like Disney not letting their artists eat mushrooms.
Well, I bet they also wouldn't. If I had a thing with ESPN, I bet they wouldn't let me be sponsored by The Fleshlight. Oh, yeah? I bet that's an issue. I bet that's an issue with people.
It's athletic.
It is athletic. That's true. It's not like it does it itself. It's technology applied to something that people are scared of.
Exactly.
Scared of touching their little pee-pee. Scared of people knowing that you masturbate. Scared of people knowing that you give yourself pleasure. Anyway, if you go to joerogan.net and click on the link for The Fleshlight and enter in the code name Rogan, you will get 15% off the #1 sex toy for men. We are also brought to you by Onnit.com, ONNIT, makers of Alpha Brain, Shroom Tech Sport, New Mood, and the man who started all this bullshit is here. He used to be Chris.
No longer.
Some shit went down in the jungle. How many people can say that? What's your name? Well, most people know me as Chris, but my name is Aubrey because some shit went down in the jungle.
Serious shit. Yeah, that's a good.
We're gonna get involved with all that stuff. We got a lot to talk about. Aubrey and I are gonna restructure the Earth today. We've decided we're gonna figure out a better way to run this. You dirty little fuckers. Anyway, if you go to joerogan.net, click on the Alpha Brain link, enter in the code name Rogan, you will get 10% off. Or don't. All right, I'm tired of you whiny little internet twats. You don't have to buy the vitamins. You don't have to enjoy. You don't have to be healthy. You can smoke cigarettes. You can drink whiskey. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're interested in the subject of nootropics, I suggest that you go online and do some research. It's a very interesting topic, and there's a lot of evidence to support the idea that there are certain nutrients that enhance the way your brain works. There are days, we all know this, where you don't feel clear. You feel like shit. You feel cloudy. What is that, folks? What gentle balance is off when you're having off days? And can that be enhanced with nutrition? I believe it can. And if you are interested in it, I encourage you to just go look up the subject before you buy anything. Read some of the things that have been written and, draw your own conclusions. Be objective about it. I also suggest that if you think that our stuff is too expensive, to just copy the ingredients, man. Just go online, buy your shit in bulk, copy it. Good luck to you. I swear to God, we're not that greedy. The proof that we're not that greedy is if you don't like it, there's 100% money back guarantee. Who the fuck else does that?
Yeah, it's true. And
so
also,
you can't do it any cleaner.
Yeah,
okay, I know you don't. If you don't believe in vitamins, you say you piss them all out. That's all good, dude. I know from personal experience, from actual health issues, that vitamins have a key benefit in your well-being. 100%. Yeah, your health and well-being are affected by vitamins. I don't care if the bullshit about studies that disprove, studies that prove. I don't think you can accurately get an assessment about that unless we get into some really fucking much more detailed tests of diet and exercise and test people that aren't doing it and test people that are, and then draw your conclusions. But I think vitamins enhance. I absolutely feel like they enhance. So buy our shit or not, whatever. whatever. We got a lot of shit to talk about. Cue the music, Brian.
All right.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Oh, I'll never get tired of hearing that. That was the coolest moment of my life as a professional broadcaster. What's that UFO sound, Brian? What are you trying to do to us?
I don't know how to stop that thing.
What is it?
It'll go away after a while. It was some special effects that I was doing early on.
It's the outro.
Brian, it's not going away.
Now it's just in your head.
No, come on, Brian. You got to shut that off. Do you really not know how to shut that off?
It's gone now.
This is just like last until a slow beat. Now it's going to drive me crazy because I'm going to hear a beat every like 30 seconds. I'm going to hear it in the background. Like a little constant distraction. That's not a good sound effect. Let's not use that one again. How about that? Freaking everybody out, man. There's a lot of people that they listen to this podcast, man, and they're on some shit. Okay,
They're hard at
yeah, man.
checking their
You can't
pulse.
freak them out with fucking alien noises. Did you see that spaceship? That it was on like I believe it was Engadget or Gizmodo, one of those gadget websites, where they were talking about there's all these photos of this crazy spacecraft that the government was driving on the back of a truck. It was like through Kansas. I mean, who knows what the fuck it was? Could have been a weather balloon or a drone.
They're all weather balloons, right?
Well, they know that we're using drones now because a guy was arrested. It was a cattle dispute, and I mean the only way this even makes sense is that someone must have insane money and hate this guy because the story doesn't make any sense. But they used a drone to determine that there was cows in this guy's property that weren't his, and that he did not alert the other ranch that their cattle had wandered onto his, and they used a drone to determine this. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, how does this other guy get that drone? Find out who that guy is and follow him. That guy who can call someone and say, hey, yeah, I'm having a cow problem, my asshole neighbor. Can I borrow one of those fucking drones? Can I borrow one of those Predator things and search around this asshole's property? Holy shit, man. Is that like a crazy violation? And the only thing they could catch on him was that some cows had wandered over to his property? What the fuck, man?
How many cows worth of money does it cost to hire a drone?
Yeah.
Sounds like an episode of American Dad.
needs to be
Like
like-
you know what I mean? Like this guy's just abusing his power. Like I'll just take my drone over there.
That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like South Park or something.
Yeah.
It's fucking completely ridiculous. Yeah, they caught the guy with I should look up the actual full story. Drone use cattle case. Is that sound right?
Did you know Seth MacFarlane's up for a Grammy? He's against like Barbara Streisand right now because he has a music CD now.
What?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's like he's like a singer.
Cattle rustling family. Maybe my take on it is wrong because they're addressing them as a cattle rustling family. So they're saying that these people were stealing cattle, I guess. Armed with a search warrant, the Nelson County Sheriff Keith Jenke went looking for 6 missing cows. Wow, really? That's it? 6 cows? You use a fucking drone to find 6 cows? Wow, this is creepy.
That's American Dad.
There's some old laws against like horse stealing and cattle thievery
Yeah.
that are super harsh just from like the day
this
they
is-
were made.
But this is like the first like instances of this, right?
Yeah.
Is this something that like the Patriot Act allows for? It must be, right?
Having drones.
Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Damn.
No, I'm not kidding.
How else are we going to get fucked? We're going to have drones following us
Well,
at
you
Toys R
know,
Us?
even worse, the NDAA that just passed, the National Defense Authorization Act, that's really scary because it allows them to treat the United States as a battlefield. And that means that they can stop things with troops. Like, they're going to use our military against American citizens. It's like a war against the people, like a civil war. Like, it's really completely insane. And the indefinite detention, the fact that you don't have to have a warrant. If they think you're a threat, they can just detain you indefinitely. You know, and you see John McCain out there, like, supporting that. You're like, wow, man, you don't see where this is going to go? You really think that should be allowed?
Yeah, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Obama, authorizing 20,000 extra troops here for the domestic front. I think you sent a tweet out about that.
It's so
You
scary.
start to put the pieces together. It looks like they know some shit's going to go down, and they're preparing for the instance in which it does, which is scary.
It looks like the only way this would be getting passed, the only way this would be accepted by so many people and not enrage others is that they know there's going to be a massive civil unrest. They know there's going to be something nutty.
Yeah, you get that feeling for sure. Although
That's
now,
terrifying.
It is terrifying. But as I thought about it too, I mean, back in the days where you crushed rebellions, there's plenty of tyrannies that have crushed rebellions throughout history. There was always certain factors present. There was a lack of information able to circulate. They would close down those things. The government's hinting at different ways of trying to do that, but I don't think they'll ever be successful. The internet's too prevalent. It's too powerful. As you've said, they'll build ways around it. They'll find ways to communicate. And then also, the people they were suppressing were generally not as well armed as the people who are, trying to suppress them. So they had an overwhelming, force majeure of technological superiority in their arms. But this is a well-armed nation, and I just can't imagine that even our troops, the some that are brainwashed or not, would ever really want to take out their real guns against our citizens. But the citizens, when pushed hard enough, we're all armed. I mean, at a certain point where, they're abusing our people grandly, and it could get really bad. And I just can't imagine that it could get to that level.
I can't imagine that it can either, but it really seems like they're preparing for it. And when you see how things have slid in certain parts of this country, how far things have gone. Like, if you ever see like any of the documentaries on Detroit, they show you like how bad it is there now. 47% illiteracy rate. I mean, the functional literacy rate, 47%. That's half the people can't read. That's incredible. And these houses that are, up for sale for like $1,000, $500, just abandoned building after abandoned building. It's like, wow. Like, we know in our lifetime that this has all changed. We know it's possible for things to go horribly wrong, completely fall apart.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that final step that they're trying to prepare for is a step that's ultimately destined for failure. Like, they won't be able to pull that trigger. It's kind of like in the nuclear age, there's a certain level of warfare that you just can't do. Like, you can't mass a group of people and attack another country that has a nuclear armament, because they'll just use the nuke. Like, you can't push the Americans too hard because we're all fucking armed, and we're all going to be able to communicate with each other. Like, there's a certain boundary point where it's destined to fail. So I think they have a weird strategy. It's like they're preparing for something, but the end game can't work. Like, they can't push that final button where they put live rounds in the troops and start shooting us. Like, we just will not fucking allow that under any circumstance. And that's what the founders, in creating the Second Amendment, I believe they had in mind, was not to protect against our enemies, but also against our own government misusing the power of the army.
It's funny how few people are willing to engage that idea, willing to even throw it out there that it's possible that there could be some sort of a massive civil war in this country, and that literally we might have troops, American troops, fighting against Americans. That nobody wants to think that. Nobody wants to think that that's possible. That's why when they talk about the Second Amendment, allowing for an armed militia, right? Isn't that like part of the
well-regulated militia? Yeah, something like that.
And people go, "What? You're gonna rise against the government?" Just 10 years ago, that sounded like nonsense. That sounded like the stupidest thing in the world. Like, why the fuck would you do that? This is the greatest country on earth. But within the 10 years since 9/11, the deterioration of what this country stood for, to me and to, I think, a lot of us, it's been shit on.
Yeah.
It's been used. It's just like what we're supposed, like, one of the reasons why everybody was so horrified after 9/11. It's like, people who don't pay that much attention to, foreign politics, they don't know exactly what all the complaints are and what countries we're occupying, what sacred land we have fucking troops marching on every day. If they don't understand like what the actual reason for someone being pissed off at us for, their view of the United States most likely is like really pretty rosy. Like, we're the peacekeepers of the world, and yeah, Vietnam was a little shady, but we did fuck up Hitler, okay? And Japan was ready to take over. We took care of that nonsense too. Russia, we bankrupt them bitches. All right, we're good. We got this. But you dig deeper and you pay more attention to it, and you go, look at what could happen in 10 years. Look how it can just slide away from you in 10 years. Things like the Patriot Act, things like tapping into people's fucking cell phones on a regular basis with no warrants. And the fact that the Patriot Act was only used a handful of times for actual terrorist attacks, but was used hundreds and thousands of times for drugs.
Yeah.
Hundreds and thousands of times. I forget the real number, but it was just a ridiculous, disproportionate number where the majority of the times they used the Patriot Act was for drugs.
That's what people, I mean, if you allow that power, it's going to be used in whatever means possible. That's why, preventing these things like that act that just passed is so vital, because you give a law, you let a law pass with one intention. Well, it doesn't really matter what the intentions are. Even the people trying to pass them may have those intentions, but ultimately, with that power enabled, the corruption is inevitable, and it happens extremely fast. And that's even a benevolent kind of view. The other view is, we'll get it passed under these auspices, and then we'll really use it to, to do whatever their means
well,
are. So
the setup that they have now, where they're allowed to like come up with laws, and then these handful of motherfuckers that have gotten to the cool kids party, they get to vote on everything. That it goes through the Senate and it goes through Congress, and they agree to it. And then if the president doesn't veto it, that's it. It went through this, X amount of people. 300 million people are changed now and affected by this corrupt, stupid, fucking shitbag, unconstitutional idea that these fuckheads passed. And it's just somehow or another they're allowed to do that. That's a ridiculous form of government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Representative or not, that's stupid. That's a terrible way for really important shit to get introduced into our culture.
Yeah.
And the fact that that is the way the system is set up, it's like, ultimately, the whole thing needs to be like radically overhauled. It's not like a little minor tweak. It needs to be radically overhauled because there's so much that gets done and so much that sucks out there that's we just follow it because it's written somewhere and because everybody agreed to it at one point in time. But as we've gotten older and you get a much better grasp on how fucked up the world really is and how ridiculous some of the laws that are in place and what the actual origin of those laws are, and the fact that they're actually based in real, clear, measurable corruption. And, it should be like a fuckload of people should be in jail, is what it should be, But instead, it just kind of like, it is the law. It's the way it is. It's on the paper.
I think there's two ways to approach it. And I think one of the interesting things that we're going to do is, there's two problems. One is what's wrong with, currently the society that we're in and how to bridge that gap. But I think as important as anything is to just start fresh, take away all that momentum, all of those, different people trained in the different ways, what you expect, and just kind of start from scratch and say, if you could start from scratch, how could you set this up, knowing what we know now and knowing, the different pathways that history have already paved. How do you prevent these disasters? How do you prevent this corruption? How do you create a model that will create momentum going the other way? And then the question just becomes, how do you bridge these two situations? Is it possible? Is it possible to go from our current situation to the ideal situation? If so, how? And then kind of fill that in.
Well, the real issue is financial. Like, what do you do with all the money? Do you divvy it up? What do you do? And there's a lot of people out there that are at zero right now that would love that. They would love, like, everybody gets a fair shake, man. Everybody gets a fair piece, which is not supposed to be how it is. Everybody has the opportunity to go out and make money by whatever means you want to do it. And if your means are unsuccessful, it doesn't mean the system sucks. It means that for whatever reason, whether you're in a saturated environment or whether, the job that you want is highly touted and it's one that everybody wants to get and there's a lot of competition. Is that what it is? What is the reason ultimately you're not able to do what you're doing? Because it's got to be a reason for it. Yes, the situation we're currently in economically sucks, but I think a lot of these dudes are just willing to lay down. A lot of these dudes are willing to go, it's rigged. The thing is rigged, man. I can't. Right. And they're not even willing to try to figure out some way through it. We all know that at the beginning of, I'm sure you must have felt this at points in your life, and I certainly felt it as a struggling comedian. There's points where, you feel like you're not going to make it. You feel like this is a ridiculous pursuit. I'm a fucking failure. This is, and if I was doing that, and then I thought, if I had these like self-defeating thoughts, and then I thought that the system was rigged, like if I was going to college to get some sort of a job in business, then I realized the system is rigged, and now I'm in that self-defeating stage, and then I'm marching around. That might not necessarily be the best move for you.
Yeah, no, that's gonna cause an end to the situation prematurely.
I think that people recognize that about any big giant movement is that they're not entirely pure.
Oh, sure.
Like there's a lot of people that are in this Occupy movement that make a lot of fucking sense. There's a lot of people that are saying a lot of really important shit, and then there's a lot of crazy assholes.
And there's a lot of people that pee themselves.
Exactly.
Well, I read an interesting piece on that, and there's a Dutch economist, I think this guy Habermas, and his point was that they're leading this almost anarchist movement without any set defined principles as a form of kind of awareness for self-correction by the majority. Basically saying that there's nothing that they can say, no bill, no law, no rule that will be respected enough to actually come out and say, do this. Because the whole system is so corrupt and nepotistic and circular that somehow they would get that concession and then it would be over. But by creating this kind of anarchist state where they're just in certain areas and they're just there. They're causing people like us to be more aware, to heighten that sense of self-awareness and critical side of things, and may actually affect the majority to change in a much broader level than if they actually had demands and actually started to do it. So yeah, I mean, you can criticize the people. I mean, I think I've said it before, playing hacky sack out on the Austin City Hall, is not exactly going to inspire the most amount of people, but it is going to cause people to talk about it and cause, room for self-reflection. And I think that kind of, anarchist protest, almost, which what it is effective in that way.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets an energy out there, and that energy is most certainly interpreted with no question whatsoever. Everybody's mad. Mm-hmm. This is not good. We're not happy, and we're so unhappy that we're going to camp out in tents.
Yeah.
It's really kind of ridiculous. I mean, and then it has to be: do we unite with these people and try to bring them all back, or is it us against them? And when it becomes us against them, and then they start preparing for us against them with like this NDAA passage, that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like they're preparing for some sort of almost a military style civil unrest in this country.
Well, the pain is only just minor at this point, really.
It's nothing. Look what's going on in Egypt, man.
Yeah.
Did you see some of these beatings in Egypt? Yeah. They're beating the fuck out of these protesters, man. I mean, beat them to death. It's horrendous, man. Horrendous shit. It's really, really hard to watch. These people running down the street, there are hundreds of them, and they encounter like one or two protesters and just club the fuck out of them. While they're unconscious, they're jumping on them and booting them in the head and cracking them full blast in the head with batons while they're unconscious. This guy jumped on this woman. One guy was dragging her, and this guy jumped and stomped on her chest. She was a woman. She had a bra on. It was like a blue bra. She was skinny, and he just jumped up and stomped down on her chest. It is inhumane. I mean, it's horrific to watch. And that country right now is fucked. There's it's the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah.
All of a sudden this guy who had been running shit as a dictator for 20 plus years is gone. And who the fuck runs things? No, I do. No, I do. And then there's a jockeying.
Yeah.
And there's just crazy lawlessness now. It's horrific to watch, man. When you see that, when you see these protesters getting beaten like that, man, the savagery involved, it's just like, man, you have no concern for their health or well-being. It's like, and people were running, shooting, just running and shooting guns, running forward towards these people, towards the protester, and just shooting guns. I mean, they are not taking.
Where'd you see
bullshit.
that video? Like,
it's on YouTube, man. It's on YouTube. Because it's not graphic. You can't see any blood or anything. It's like kind of shitty quality.
What's up with shitty quality nowadays? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Jesus.
They have some old-ass fucking Motorola cell phone. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it was filmed on. I don't know what it was filmed on.
Now you know where you drop those cell phones off in the boxes. Like, it's like, donate your cell phones. That goes to Egypt.
That goes to anywhere that's the world is fucked up.
Yeah, I think the economic pain that we're kind of feeling, it's bad. I mean, definitely a lot of people are hurting, but it's not to Great Depression levels right now. It's not even to levels that we've already seen happen before here in America. And I think
everybody recognizes that we are right now on a very unshaky foundation.
Exactly. And when it gets worse, then the Occupy movement. I mean, what's going to cause the people who are on the fringe to just come out in numbers? I think there'll be a kind of a tipping point effect where people are going to be like, fuck this, fuck the corruption in the government. We need a new system. We need to stop spending money to bail out the banks. We need to
How would you
this,
ever convince the government to revamp the system and take away their power? That's just like they would never do that.
It takes an uprising like that. I mean, it takes the people to cause the movement. And when has the government ever done shit without the people moving first? I mean, women's suffrage, for example. If women weren't marching around doing that thing, they may still not be able to vote. I mean, it takes the people rising up in order to change the government. It's the only fucking way, because power is going to breed power. They're going to just keep the system status quo. I mean, maybe one or two examples where Lincoln abolished slavery, on his own kind of before there was massive upscale, but that was during a time of war. It had certain advantages, et cetera. There was a variety of different things involved in that, but it's always the people who demand something first that cause the government to change. And I think, right now people are talking in their talking voice. I think pretty soon they're going to have to start yelling. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen to change. But before they start yelling, unfortunately, it has to hurt worse. And I think that's probably where we're heading. Is to more economic.
Who would have
pain.
ever thought this was going to be going down? Remember when you were younger, when Clinton was president? It looked like the world was just a rosy, fucking beautiful place to be.
I miss that guy.
Yeah, man. Just
He was
10,
just
20
comfortable.
years.
He was just a comfortable guy.
What an amazing
in a
thing.
comfortable time.
In 20 years. 20 years, the world has just changed beyond recognition almost.
But I think it's part of the natural cycle of things. I mean, things don't go in a steady curve. They have to go in these cycles. These, gets way too far out of line, then it maybe goes back too far the other way. I mean, probably there'll be a point where, the sentiments get too roused in the other direction. Like, wait a minute. We got to have banks. We got to have this.
We need to keep civilization together, all right? We need credit cards. I don't want to be carrying gold bullion everywhere we go. Let's pull this shit together, God damn it.
Yeah.
It's just, what we got to get rid of? You got to get rid of that stock market. I watched that fucking thing on TV. I sound like a grandpa. I watched that stock market. We got to get rid of that. But I watched it on TV. I was watching some financial report, and there's a ticker tape going on because it's like an alien program to me. The ticker tape's going on beneath it, and then this guy starts talking about a lack of confidence in this company and a confidence that there's a lot of confidence behind this company. And I'm watching these numbers spin. I'm like, this is insanity. This is like, these guys are like, there's like a virus of numbers, this horrible like hurricane like virus of numbers, and then there's a few people in there that sort of know how to decipher it, and they're pulling numbers out and seeing which way the waves are blowing. I'm like, what a wacky fucking system. Based on confidence. What? Based on how people feel about companies and shit, and whether or not a new product just came out. Oh, we're gonna buy Apple, buy, and you can actually you can affect that somehow. Like, what kind of what are we basing any of our time on this wonky shit for? This is a ridiculous setup.
The speculatory frenzy around stocks and these things is pretty outrageous. I mean, really, it takes away from what originally the idea is, which is to own a share and interest in a company that you thought was going to make money and do things as a positive form of investment. Ultimately,
when did it get completely wacky? Was it the Reagan administration? When were they allowed to do like? When were they allowed to have like derivatives and stuff like that?
I think probably in the 80s.
In the 80s,
it got the wackiest because the markets were still, pretty new in the 70s and things. I mean, but the stock market has had its nonsenses since the 1920s. I mean, you can read
they had the big crash
of the stock operator, and
there was
some of the same madness.
But there were safeguards that were put in place after the big crash of the whatever it was, the 20s, the Great Depression. There were safeguards that were put in place that were eventually dropped, right? Weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, depending how much the market can drop in a certain day, basically limits, so it can go limit down. There's a lot of those things in different commodity markets as well. There'll be a limit to how far the price can move in one day. But the thing is, that's just per day. They don't limit it permanently because that would cause massive inefficiency. So it just kind of curbs that initial panic, like, holy fuck, we got to sell everything, sell, and then it drops way below where it needs to, and then the margin calls kick in, and then people, lose all their money. They're jumping out of buildings. It's a mess at that point. So they try to curb that.
It seems so ridiculous, this buy, sell. It seems so ridiculous that a company could actually like go by that. Like that could have any sense whatsoever in the world of business.
And still, but looking at these equity markets, they're way better off than the credit markets, than the debt markets. That's where all these problems are going. People swapping debt and derivatives and all of these things. I mean, at least these are companies. At least ultimately, at the end of the day, you can poke a CEO in the chest and hold something, a service or a product that he created, that the company created. All of these other debt pieces, what are they? They're just these numbers that are circulated in a variety of ways where everybody makes money. And if you lose money, guess what? You don't lose money because the government will bail you out. So, I mean, how the fuck are they not going to do that? It's a no risk situation. Let's be super aggressive. Let's be super risky. We'll make a bunch of money on the way up. If we lose, no big deal. Uncle Sam will come in. They'll pay it all. I mean, how are we not expected for them to have it? That's why I think one of my biggest beefs with the Occupy Wall Street movement is, it really should be Occupy Washington. I mean, you're telling these sharks that, hey, play this game. You can make all the money you want. And if you lose, we're going to bail you out. Well, whose fault is that? They're going to be sharks. Sharks are going to be sharks. These men are put in their positions for being greedy, for being, the most aggressive in their class. And then we're expecting them to behave in these dramatically moral ways and not do it. No, it's not going to happen. If they have no no room for failure at the end of the day, why the fuck wouldn't they do that?
Has there ever been a stock market movie where they weren't really in it for the money and they were just kind of really cool guys and a lot of principles?
Exactly. I mean,
every stock market movie.
About
I saw Tower Heist with Eddie Murphy and who the fuck is it? The other guy, Ben. Jesus Christ, Stiller. Jesus Christ, how did I blank on Ben Stiller? Hilarious fucking movie. Really, but again, evil banker.
Yeah.
Evil stock market guy. Is there ever a nice stock market guy? Like, think about like Boiler Room. Everyone's doing coke. Everyone's fucking crazy. They're all over the edge. Is there a stock market movie where everybody's like really cool?
It's a breed of animal. It's like asking
they go to work with pictures of their kids and Bible passages.
It's like asking if there's a great white shark movie where the shark doesn't eat the fuck out of people. Of course it eats the fuck out of people. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's some great stock guys. I've known a lot of them. Some great hedge fund managers. I've known a lot of them. But, ultimately they are super aggressive and they're going to take advantage of any market that they see.
There's a dude I used to do Taekwondo with who became a stock market guy, and I didn't see him for like a couple weeks, and I saw him. He was like, he had a suit on and shit. And I was like, "What are you doing, man? Like, what's going on with you?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm fucking selling stocks. He was like this really aggressive psycho dude.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he was like really into this game of selling stocks. But the way he was talking about it was like he was going to financial war every day.
Yeah.
And we're fucking bitches up, bro. We got the fucking best team.
Yeah.
Let me invest some of your money. Get the fuck out of here with this crazy asshole."
No, I know. It's a silly system.
Joe,
It's weird.
show me your impersonation of a sad North Korean. Stomp your fist up and down now.
It's like the worst acting ever. Like every time a camera's on them, they're like, "You are sad, no? Are you sad?" And they're all falling down. Oh.
How depressing is
No
that country,
tears.
man?
No tears.
I saw a documentary the other day on that country, and this was right before he died. I was like, I watched this, and it was showing like how all the kids are and like people are blind in North Korea. They're going blind because their diets are so bad that they're getting cataracts. And there was kids, just tons of kids with cataracts because how poor their diet is. I mean,
Wow.
40%, I think that it was 40 or 45% of the children in North Korea are starving, like dying because of starvation.
If you're interested in any of this, go to Vice Guide for North Korea. Go to vice.com and check out the thing that they have up, because they have a bunch of shit today, including all this North Korean labor camp footage where they have all the slave footage that they have.
That's crazy, and that's what the whole country is around those slave camps. That's what makes the fear that makes all these people act this way is because of those slave camps.
Yeah, the people have no power there. I mean, it's really amazing when you see a dictatorship, like it's horrific. It's it's the worst way a human being can be treated, but it's also quite impressive. It's really amazing that some guy is just allowed to just straight run shit. Like in Thailand, some American just got locked up in jail, I think for a year, for talking bad about the king.
The king actually doesn't even run the country in Thailand, as far as I remember from when I was there.
Well, you can't talk shit about him, though.
But there is a special rule about talking bad about the king. It's a weird situation where they have some kind of control on the verbiage towards the king, but he actually has not as much governmental power as the general other Thai leaders. I don't know what they have as far as
that's interesting
person, but
apparently he's like legitimately beloved.
He is.
That they love the king.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a strange fucking place, man.
That is.
Do you think we're withdrawing our troops so we can send them to North Korea?
Dude, we're not going to North Korea.
You don't
There's
think?
no minerals in North Korea. There's no gold in North Korea. There's no
but
oil
there's
in
a
North
whole
Korea.
country of people that are kind of, I don't know, that's kind of Nazi shit, in my opinion.
It is. Well, it's a communist dictatorship. It is 100% like that. I mean, it's actually worse than Nazi.
Right.
I don't want to say worse.
But you don't think Team America?
It's the same exact vein of it. I mean, they're not out there causing genocide and attacking other nations, but I mean, they're fucking. That's a terrible way to live. No doubt about it.
They said that Kim Jong was the #1 buyer of Hennessy, #1 single person that buys the most Hennessy. Do you almost think
Imagine
that?
what kind of fucking rapper parties he must have
The
had?
rappers are so mad about that right now. They're pissed.
Right.
They're gonna change that.
Do you think
right.
do you think maybe that we are planning?
Did you make that up, by the way?
No, it's 100% true. I swear to fucking God, look it
I
up.
believe you.
But do you think maybe that we poisoned Kim Jong to give him a heart attack? And do you think we're planning all this to go to North Korea?
No, he's an old dude. But it is kind of fun if you want to be a conspiracy theorist and really start thinking about it and think about, Gaddafi and, Osama bin Laden and Kim Jong-il and Mubarak's gone. Think about all these people who've been moved, replaced, or died just really recently. It's like, have you ever seen General Anthony, what is his, Wesley Clark? Do you remember that guy that was running for president for a while? Mm-hmm. He's, I think he's a general, some badass army guy. And let me look it up so I can give him the right.
May just be part of this sign of the times of change that it's kind of sweeping over everybody. It seems like there's this tumultuous period, as we're coming into this age that's causing change to happen at a more rapid rate.
Brian, pull up the plan. I want you to pull up the plan according to General Wesley Clark. You can just Google Wesley Clark, General Wesley Clark, and this will come up in YouTube. But my point was, this General Wesley Clark actually in, I believe it was 2007, he predicted all of this. And he said, this is the plan. This is what they want to do. They're going to get rid of Gaddafi. They're going to go into this country. They're going to take over in Iraq. They're going to kill Saddam Hussein. I mean, he literally spells it out. Everything that we did.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
So go through the countries again?
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran.
2007.
Wow.
This is a General Wesley Clark. I mean, this is, he's not a kook. Jesus Christ.
It's nutty.
But it's weird that he would,
Is he still alive?
If you know that, yeah. Well, I think, he's alive, man. But I mean, if you know that and you don't tell, you're probably much more likely to get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like you might be thinking about telling somebody that.
Once it's out.
Yeah, once it's out, it's out. And if they get you, it's almost obvious.
Yeah.
But if you're like one of these dudes and you know some shit like that, you better get on a talk show, son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if someone knows that you know that, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't kill Wesley Clark because he's a fucking general. And on top of that, he's probably been a part of a bunch of shit in his past that maybe he didn't agree with.
Combination to a lockbox with a lot worse secrets than that.
Sure.
Sure, it shows up unexplainably dead.
Yeah, and look, nobody knows more about how the world really runs than high-ranking generals, period. They get pushed into situations where they absolutely know that they're doing it for a very specific reason. That Smedley Butler article that was written in the 1930s, War is a Racket. Amazing article when you think about the fact that this guy wrote this in I think it was 1930-something. And you would say, back then, man, there's no way people had figured it out. Back then, people we weren't a corrupt country back then. Back then, all the wars were just. There was real bad people over there. Not according to this dude, man. This is a major U.S. Marine Major General Smedley D. Butler, and it's a really brilliant. It was 1930. He wrote. Yeah, it was published in 1935, but he wrote it in 1930. It's called War is a Racket, and this guy had a career in the military and got out and just said, "Listen, this is how it goes. War is a racket. It always has been. It's possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious." It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to be to the majority of the people. Only a small inside group knows what it's about. It's conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, few people can make huge fortunes. And this is in 1930. This guy wrote that. Isn't that incredible? It's like we've always sucked. We've always sucked. We've just been better at covering it up. If we had the internet in 1930, people would be like, "What? What the fuck are we? Why are we in Mexico? What's going on in Haiti? What are we doing in Cuba?"
There's probably some truth to that. I think
Fuck yeah.
So if we had to do it, we've talked about this, Joe. So if we had to start it all over, let's say some cataclysm happens, economic collapse happens, a situation where like-minded people are able to, before it happens, say, "All right, look, listen, we got to scope out North Dakota. This is going to be our spot. Let's go there."
Is that the only way to do it? Or is it possible that the way to do it is to not have everything completely fall apart, but have everybody sort of come to some sort of an understanding?
Yeah,
I would much rather have that.
Absolutely. It's
Maybe we could ease into a second economy by starting it off slowly. Like you don't have to use the entire you don't have to use U.S. currency. Maybe we can have an alternative currency that we all agree to.
They tried that in the Austrian town of Wurgel during the Great Depression, I think 1932, and it's a pretty interesting story. The currency had two features. One, that it was commodities backed. So it wasn't just backed by gold, which is one way to do it. But the problem with just a gold back is it's contingent on people actually liking gold still.
Yeah.
Then wanting gold. At the
Someone's
point
going to wake up eventually.
Yeah.
The fuck is this gold?
Like you can't eat it. You can't
kill anybody with it.
You can't make hammers out of it. Yeah. So
you can make a catapult out of it.
Right. So you got to, obviously
ball.
gold. It'd be a heavy something, but
be a good weapon if you could catapult a ball of a giant gold ball. Just fuck you up, man. But it ain't worth what it costs.
The most ironic way to die. Be hit by a giant gold
got
ball.
pinballed.
Well, you know the whole story about the Zechariah Sitchin story about why gold was valuable to ancient humans.
Yeah.
He believes that the Anunnaki, who created the human out of the lower hominid and the alien genetics, they needed us to mine for gold because they needed gold in massive amounts to suspend in their atmosphere to protect their atmosphere. It sounds completely ridiculous, but when you really go back to how long people have been using gold, they were like nomads, man. Like, why? What did you give a fuck about this little shiny, weird, soft metal that you can't even make a tool out of?
Aldous Huxley has a different theory that I think is actually pretty interesting as well. He says that the reason people like gold is because it approximates some of the shiny visions that you see under the psychedelic or mystic experience. So that's the reason why we like gems. That's the reasons why we like gold. Now metal is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. But back then, that was the only shiny shit that you found in the earth was metal that you mined. Right now, we mass produce it, so it's not that mystical or beholding anymore. But he says, he's like, why are we digging in the dirt to find these shiny pebbles still? And he says it's because when you're on these kind of mescaline or DMT or these other experiences, you see these multifaceted, colors and lights and shine.
That kind of makes sense to me, but many more people have gotten into diamonds and rubies than have had psychedelic experiences, right?
But we all know some knowledge of that realm, and that's his idea. His basic concept is that your mind is just a filter, and it symbolizes the things that you see, so that you can walk around, you do the normal daily stuff. But when you remove that filter, like through psychedelics or through other different methods, some of that starts to peer through, and you see the colors in the way that they are in the void and the different aspects outside of our physical confines. And that's what's so mystical about them. And that's why we seek that. Even if we haven't seen it in psychedelics, we know it. And that's part of part of our soul's knowledge, or at least part of the collective mind at large.
Well, everyone's had a dream,
sure.
And any dream state it might as well be a psychedelic experience. How many times have dream states just been like, you're involved in something that is just completely ridiculous, makes no sense, and you're just kind of going with it. You know, I mean, that's like a lot of like really nutty, crazy dreams, right? That is like a psychedelic experience, and most likely even caused by psychedelic compounds in the brain. They don't totally understand how that works, man. They don't totally understand like why dimethyltryptamine is in your brain and 5-methoxydimethyltryptamine, and when is it actually released. There's like theories that it's released in periods of high stress, and there's some anecdotal evidence, but they really have to develop these much more sensitive ways of determining like when the actual DMT is released during various stages of human activity. Because right now, from what I understand, one of the only ways to find out is when someone dies. Like, does DMT flood the brain when they die? Well, you have to like get in there like within seconds after they're dead and measure that shit. You know, within, I mean, when your body processes it, it's 10, 15 minutes, and you're back to baseline. I mean, it's a really quick experience. So, like, when someone dies, if they get that blast, if that's what happens, and, you know, you have a psychedelic trip that, like, whether it eases your departure from the earth, or whether it opens up some fucking gateway to something that's next, whatever the hell it is, it's gone pretty goddamn quickly. It's poof, you know, it's there and it's not. Yeah. So they would have to like open your fucking head up real quick and get to that gland and then start testing. It out. I think maybe
there's something to it, obviously.
But what is it? I mean,
I spent a long time, you know, telling that story about the jungle when I was down there and taking ayahuasca, and since then I had a very deep, psilocybin experience. In contrast, and there is something particular about the DMT molecule that I'm convinced that's transcendiary to what, you know, in the framework of the jungle when I was there, that's, you know, causes you to go to different dimensions than even a psilocybin trip. I felt like the DMT molecule is some form of gateway that opens doors that you can't even get, you know, with other energy medicine, psychoactive compounds. There's something particularly special about that. And I couldn't help but feel that overwhelming feeling. I actually was able to, I saw a lot of the same kind of figures and a lot of things like trying to pull me up. Like that was a large part of my vision, was these reaching down in and trying to pull me up into these higher levels. But the fuel wasn't there. Like I couldn't open that door, the same door that I went through back in the jungle. And maybe that has something to do with the shaman. Maybe it has to do with the other things. But I think it has to do with
totally
DMT
different
itself.
compound.
Totally different compound. So each one has their own specialty.
I think that is a part of the compound of psilocybin. I think N,N-dimethyltryptamine is actually like a part of it. I think it's something like 4-phosphoryloxy N,N-dimethyltryptamine. It's very closely related.
Yeah, and it certainly is. But there was, I don't know, for whatever reason, there was some
maybe
other
you didn't
special,
have enough.
Maybe not.
How much did you have?
It was probably 2.5 grams made in some tea.
Not enough, son.
But it was
you got
steeped.
silly. Yeah, you got silly. That's not enough. You need 5.
Yeah,
5 is the magic number.
Yeah, but I've taken a good amount of it.
Brian did like 7 recently, and
by mistake.
The world disappeared on him for a little while.
Yeah. There's different situations cause different results, but it's a pretty remarkable.
I haven't done DMT in several years, and it's been a couple because the last time I did it was the only time ever. I mean, I've had a bunch of psychedelic experiences, but the last time I did DMT was the only time where I ever was not sure what was real and what was imagination and fantasy for about 2 weeks. For about 2 weeks, the world itself, like as I was driving, seemed malleable. Like it seemed like if I concentrated on car accidents, you know, I might wind up in a fucking car accident. You know, if I concentrate on it raining out, it might rain out. I mean, it sounded completely ridiculous, and I didn't believe that I could make anything happen with my mind by any stretch of the imagination. But what I also didn't believe was that reality was 100% real. Because what happens when you have a real mind-blowing fucking trip is, first of all, you get terrified that it's that close. That all you have to do is smoke that stuff, and it's right there. I can get there in 30 seconds, a minute, and I get to some impossible place. Like if you had to journey across the earth to get to some spot in Tibet where you look into the DMT realm, you have to climb through a fucking cave and rappel, and you camp out there, and it takes days, and some people die like climbing Mount Everest. But if you get there, if you get to that spot, you look out and you see God. You look out and you see the most purest wisdom, the most knowledgeable love, the most sympathetic voice, the most knowledge that you could ever possibly imagine coming from something in a way that's not even language, like very difficult to describe, but so intense and humbling. Man, people would take trips to go to that. It would be you know what I'm saying? Like if there was like a guy that you could go to that would give you this feeling. But essentially there is, and it's if everyone knew about, if it was legal and you could go to places where they could prescribe it, boy, would that change the world. I mean, would that change the world?
Yeah.
Would that change the fucking? If people have seen what you've seen, could you imagine?
A totally different place.
But if you brought that up, people say like you're a fucking crazy person. Like, what are you doing? You're gonna give people drugs, the hallucinations, and they're gonna that's gonna make them a better person.
Well, the driving another theory from Huxley is that the driving force behind all religion was seeking that kind of transcendental place, and people got to it through a variety of different means. He said, all the chanting that you find in these mystical traditions, that raises the CO2 level because you end up breathing out more than you breathe in when you're doing unless you're a highly trained singer, and you're expert. But most of these ecstatic chanting and yelling and all that is designed to raise that CO2 level.
You breathe out more than you breathe in? How's that even possible?
Just in a normal breath.
That defies all science.
That doesn't seem like that's possible.
Well, just
how can you?
Well,
there's no more air. Well, bro, I'm breathing out more than I'm breathing in. I'm taking air through my dick hole, son.
It sounds like a rapper made that one up.
That air comes through my dick hole, fills up my lungs from the bottom, yo.
Well, anyways, that's how he put it. There's some ways.
People say shit like that, man. It drives me nuts. And then you repeat it accidentally, not thinking about it, and then someone else has to come along and go, "Wait a minute, man, what the fuck did you just say?" And then they go, "Yeah, what the fuck did I just say? God damn it, I'm just repeating some stupid shit that somebody told me." In martial arts, that was always a problem. That's always a problem.
Well, that could be the wrong way to go about it. But either case, he's saying that was one mild example of raising the CO2 levels. There's certain breathing exercises that certainly do that.
So that does something to the air. It's more carbon dioxide.
So that ends up reducing what he calls the cerebral reducing valve. That is what keeps everything symbolized, because that vision, what you're talking about, you're saying it's right there. It's right there because it's around us all the time. And that's why when you take something or smoke DMT, you get to it instantly. You don't have to travel to it because it's there all the time. The only thing that's happening.
But isn't it possible that it's also perturbing your mind and giving your mind an excess of chemicals to deal with, so it distorts your visual perception of the world? I mean, it seems to me that you have to look at every single possibility. And you have to look at the possibility that if the brain produces all these different chemicals at varying doses, and we believe that it varies the doses based on stress levels, wow, there might be something to that. There might be something to this possibility that there's a gateway. But there's also a possibility that you're just getting fucked up on some wacky drug and seeing some nutty shit. And it's so humbling because you don't expect it, that when you come back, you have like all these rationalizations and all this, either way, if you believe it, it can make you a great person. It's like a lot of religions, man. I don't think there's anything wrong with Christianity. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. I know people that it works for them, and it actually does make them a better person. And if you believe in it, it can work. It can make you a better person. And if you believe that your psychedelic experience was truly connecting with the divine, well, that can make you a better person. But it could also be your system is just over flooded by some shit that's not supposed to be there in rocket fueled doses, just awash in like usually what it gets a sip of. It's at the bottom of a river of this crazy fucking fluid.
That's actually I think a more accepted theory than Huxley's, which is that you're actually taking away your filter instead of adding something else. And he goes on to talk about probably more convincing arguments than the chanting argument. Basically, that there was a famous saint, the Curé d'Ars, this French saint, and he used to say that when he would flagellate himself, God would deny him nothing, and he would have access to that mystical level.
That was a popular thing, right?
Yeah,
For people who don't know, that means you beat the fuck out of yourself.
Yeah, so you would do it, these long
reached
periods.
in and pulled a fart out or something.
Oh, flatulence you're thinking of. No, flagellate is like,
how do
they
you
used like a little
yourself?
whip, didn't
Yeah,
they?
a whip
Like
with either knotted leather or actual barbs on it, and it would cause their back to bleed.
Yeah,
and what
they
he
would
was saying,
tear themselves apart.
In the era before soap, that would cause, first of all, the actual beating would cause a lot of adrenaline to rush through your body and histamines to rush through your body as this was going on. That, in combination with the fasting that was very popular, obviously winter was kind of a forced fast, and with the flagellation that caused, in the era before soap, those would almost always fester. So there would be all these decomposing protein in your system.
Oh my God.
It would basically reduce your cerebral capacity to the point where you could enter psychedelic trance states and actually commune, with God underneath your
whoa. Break that shit down again. So you're saying because they were dirty, stinky people that didn't wash that good, so they didn't like scrub off the outside layer of skin, that somehow they're penetrating that would change their state?
Well, this is in combination with a variety of things. So basically, the brain needs vitamins and nutrients to function normally. You go through these long periods of fasting. That was one way to reach the mystical experience. 40 days of fasting, you're basically denying your brain of all the glucose, all the vitamins necessary to function optimally. And that's when a lot of these people had visions. Well, the reason they had visions, according to Huxley, was because the brain was just not able to function as its normal symbolizing cerebral nature that it does to make us all survive. So you were able to take in more of the capital M mind at large, which we call the collective now, because of the lack of vitamins. And he was saying also the flagellation, usually used in conjunction with that, so you got your brain basically running on very little, just trying to hang in there. And then you beat yourself. And then at that point, you got adrenaline, you got histamines, and then you got festering wounds on your back that are causing more kind of toxins to your brain. So at that point, your brain just kind of shuts off, and it allows more of that mystical experience to come through.
Wow. So you beat the fuck out of yourself to achieve enlightenment after you starve yourself.
Yeah.
For a month or so.
Can you imagine farts before soap?
And that's how important seeking that mystical experience was to these people. They were willing to do that. And
how did they find out about it though? Someone must have beat someone, and then someone said, "Thank you for starving me and beating the fuck out of me because I learned a lot about myself."
Maybe. Well, the winter was basically a forced fast. They had hardly any vitamin C during the winter. They were only able to store a certain amount of things. And then Lent, coming off winter, was also a time that caused a lot of these visions to come. And at that point, somebody maybe got taken to the whip. I mean, whipping was a common way to treat any kind of petty offense. Someone gets whipped after 3 months of fasting for winter, 40 days of Lent, and they get whipped. They very well may see God. And that was Huxley's idea. But he said now, at the state that we know about psychedelics, trying to get to the mystical state through that reason is like, burning a house down to cook a pig. It's like you don't need to do that anymore. Right. You can go out and you can find these tools that were placed here on the earth to help get you to that experience.
Really amazing, and I'd never heard that before. About the flagellation and the starving. It totally makes sense.
Yeah,
but it's a crazy possibility. I've always wondered why the fuck they beat the shit out of themselves. I just figured it's like Jerry Sandusky, like they hate themselves. Did you hear one of the things that Jerry Sandusky said in one of the interviews? He said he wished he was dead. He was talking to this woman. The woman was asking him like why he touched her son, and he said, I mean it to be that way. I wish I was dead. Wow. That's like these guys beat themselves with whips with fucking barbs. That's a person who hates himself, right?
Well, the guilt that was fostered by the beliefs in the time, would cause people to hate themselves. They'd have this constant sense of gnawing guilt that they couldn't get rid of. So how do you get rid of guilt? Well, somebody has to punish you if nobody else is going to do it. So you punish yourself.
Isn't it amazing how the human mind can be programmed like that? With religion or with nationalism, whether it's North Korea or whether it's the fucking Inquisition. It's amazing, really. It's amazing that human beings can all fall into a pattern. The pattern just has to be really clear and enforced and scare the fuck out of a few people while it's being enforced. Yeah. And then, boom, it spreads. It's really amazing. It's just, we're so weird. We're capable of such brilliance and such beauty, but we're also so fucking dumb. We're so easy to trick. We're so easy to program and make act completely ridiculous and absurd. It's so easy.
Well, I think there's a couple things that are going on there. I think there's a certain amount of people who are very easily programmable.
Yeah.
And I've read some figures, some estimations that there's 20% of the population, like a hypnotist who brings a bunch of people up on stage. Those certain people are very susceptible to suggestion.
I have to bring this up because people think I'm a dummy. I've got a bunch of tweets from people that were like, "Fuck you, stupid. If comedy hypnotists aren't real." I know you don't think they're real because guess what? I didn't think they're real either. When I first saw a comedy show at Stitch's Comedy Club in Boston, I saw Frank Santos, the R-rated hypnotist, and I said, this is bullshit. This is so fucking stupid. This is bullshit. But it's not bullshit. It just wouldn't work on you. You, the skeptical person that's like, this is bullshit, generally you're probably fairly intelligent. It's not going to work on you.
Right.
But if you're one of those dudes with a 9-volt brain, there's a lot of people out there like that. You can hypnotize them. It doesn't seem like it should work. It seems completely preposterous to you or to me or to you because we couldn't be hypnotized like that.
Right.
But to that dude, it's absolutely possible. And that's amazing. It's almost like there's people set up around us and we have the cheat codes for them. You know,
Yeah,
and you
no,
throw them into God mode. You know, like literally, like people can be hacked.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And people people know that, have been taking advantage of that. So there's that factor. There's this 20%, let's say, of people that can be basically hypnotized. They're basically walking somnambulists, you know, like able to be hypnotized easily.
Is it a biological thing?
I think so. I think it's just the way that their mind works in a certain way. And I don't think it's necessarily a lack of intelligence. It's just a certain circuitry that their mind works on where they're that it goes. I don't know.
Well,
exactly
definitely a
how
lack
it
of
goes.
objective reasoning.
Sure.
I mean,
That critical part of the mind
yeah.
is probably getting steered around for a certain, because that hardly rational individual, but their emotional intelligence might be off the charts. Like they might be able to be very, insightful as far as their intuition and what they're able to see, but certainly there's some critical aspect that they're able to just circumvent and shut off completely, and that's I think obvious. But once you get that majority, let's say that 20%, human beings are naturally social creatures. So if you start to see a majority, if you start to see a bunch of people running, you're going to start jogging the same direction and be like, oh shit, I don't know why I'm jogging, but these people are fucking going, and I'm out of here. So I think that's part of what happens. They get a certain minority, convinced, hypnotized basically to some nonsense. And then everybody else is like, oh shit, look at all these people. They can't all be wrong. And then they hop on board as well.
It's amazing. We have to fix the design of the human body. I've been saying this on stage for years, that we got to stop having sex have to do with making babies. That's ridiculous. It should be way harder to make babies, and it should be based, on, you should have to do something, together. Maybe go do something. Go somewhere together. Go through a ceremony together, and then you make a baby.
Or abortions have to be easier. Like it has to be an app on your phone.
So, but the problem with abortion is the abortion idea. It's like you got to catch it quick. You catch it quick, and it doesn't count. It's like, well, are you sure? Because is it that it doesn't count, or is it like stepping on an ant? Like if I step on an ant in my house, 9 times out of 10 I don't even clean it up. If I step on a mouse, I got to clean it up. And basically if a mouse is the size of an ant, I wouldn't give a fuck. All right? There's something about when things get bigger that they start becoming real. That's crazy. There's a lot of holes in that argument. It's a weird sort of an acceptance of what's essentially killing a life. If you let it go, it is going to be another person. So what you decide, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have the right to choose, because you absolutely shouldn't, and I don't want to be the one that tells you what to do with your body. Don't get me wrong, but as a philosophical argument of what it is, and when does it start, and when is it life? It's like, how about we just figure out a way to completely prevent it unless you want it? That seems like much smarter. Like, we should be doing that to kids at a really early age. I'm not saying we should neuter them, but we should fucking get them on birth control lickety split.
Gummy bear.
Well,
Jesus, give them a chance to get out of high school and keep their, when you're in high school and you're boning and you're raw dogging it and you're barely pulling out on time, that is the best time to make a person. Your body's ready to go. Your body's young and fresh, and you got bitches, their eggs are falling into their socks. There's so many eggs, man. They're ready to drop. It's so easy to have a baby then, and that's just the most ridiculous thing ever. That we're set up the same way that we were set up back when it was really hard to stay alive. Our biological setup is set up from back when we didn't have houses. We were out there sleeping under the stars. One guy had to stay awake with a stick, and then we're wandering around chasing after these animals because we have to follow the herd. Otherwise, we'll starve to death. God damn, man, what a shit design.
Yeah,
the whole world has changed, and we're the same. That's what's really fucked up. We, in our little fucking interesting minds, have figured out a way to manipulate the earth so radically that we've polluted the ocean and fucked up the air and left big fucking giant spots where no one can go for 100,000 years. There's a gang of them where we drop nuclear bombs just to fucking see what would happen. It's like we had to get rid of nuclear waste. We've done this like that. We've done it so quickly. It's really amazing. But we're the same animal that we were 50,000 years ago,
And
100,000 years
that's
ago.
creating so many of the problems. I mean, I think the guy Malthus is a politician and economist, and he basically said food production increases arithmetically, and population increases geometrically. So that ultimately, the way things are going, we see this in all these third world countries. Reproduction is far outpaced the amount of food supply and the things, and this happens at various periods in history. And so either nature is going to take care of it, either in one fell swoop through a giant famine, or through disease, or through the other kind of overpopulation effects, then nature will kind of auto-correct these mistakes. Or you have to take different methods of contraception very seriously and start teaching that at an early age, and putting that in people's minds from the start. And I think that's one area where we're terrible at. I mean,
we don't want to talk about fucking with kids.
We're still preaching abstinence, which is nonsense. Just
that Michelle Bachmann is hilarious.
Nonsense.
It is amazing that broad is still running for president. It is amazing with her big gay husband when they run around and tell everybody not to have sex. I mean, it is really fucking funny, man. Somebody's got to follow that dude around. I mean, I can't. I started paying attention to the polls, and when Ron Paul, especially when Ron Paul's ahead in Iowa right now, he's got the lead. He's #1 in Iowa, and everybody's shitting their pants. But that Michelle Bachmann broad, she's still in it, man. She's still in it.
She's in it to win it.
I can't believe it. I would have thought, doesn't everybody know she's a fucking loon? Like, hasn't that been figured out yet? Have you seen her husband? Have you seen him talk? Like, that guy can't hold it in. Flowers come out of his asshole when he farts. I mean, he's like a guy, if he threw his hands up randomly in the air, glitter would just magically come out of the air. It would, whether it was, whether it came from his skin or came from the universe recognizing the gayness that he exudes, it needs to be glorified in glitter. He could create glitter. He can create glitter. He's a fucking peacock, man. He's hilarious. He's one of the gayest people to ever walk the face of the planet. At least he looks like he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's running around talking about gay marriage, and and they have a Pray the Gay Away sort of a clinic where they all get together. And one guy did an expose on their Pray the Gay Away clinic, and there was a guy behind him. Somehow or another, they do this thing where they all get together and they hold on to each other. And he says the guy behind him clearly has a hard-on. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And these people are running for president, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But she's got a lot of people that think that she can win. I mean, not enough to actually win, I don't think, unless everybody else fucks up bad. But the problem is they keep fucking up. Everybody keeps fucking up. It's like Rick Perry is still in it, but it's just cursory at this point. Yeah. It's like, what is he doing? Come on, dude. Everybody knows you're an idiot. You're done, man. You fucking can't talk. All right? You forget shit. And, you're like, George Bush was way better, and people were offended by how dumb he was. Rick Perry's like really fucking stupid. George Bush was better than this guy, like way better at talking.
Yeah.
He seemed like, he wasn't an intellectual, but he seemed like, especially back when he was running for governor, it seems like he put some fucking words together. This guy's an embarrassment. So it's like, who else? There's no one left. Mitt Romney and fucking the other guy with the big head.
It's got to be Ron Paul.
Yeah, but really? That seemed, they're going to let that happen?
I doubt it. But
Newt Gingrich. How hilarious is that? That's like somebody's... You know what that would be like? If Newt Gingrich would be president, it'd be like if you dated this girl and she was a cunt and her dad was a cuntier cunt. That's Newt Gingrich. Like if you dated a girl and she was just she was nagging and pain in the ass, and then you had to go over and meet her parents, and her dad is like, you better be nice to my daughter, I'll tell you that right now. I don't take any bullshit from kids,
Yeah.
I got to deal with your dad.
He's a monster.
He's like someone's dad.
He's a monster.
Where does glitter go? You never throw glitter away. Is it like, are we breathing in glitter? Or are we starting to become glitter?
Depends on where you live, Brian.
Because you have glitter on you right now. You don't even know it. And it's like, where does that go, though?
Does it go?
Glitter?
Yeah. Does it just fall on the ground?
It goes to strip clubs, naturally.
Where do you see glitter?
It's on your face, right below your eyes.
It's probably from my little ones. When you have little ones and they have glitter, we're always playing with glitter. There's always like glue and glitter. They're always making things. Where does it go? It gets thrown away, I guess.
Yeah, but we're probably breathing glitter in.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
might gonna die from glitter, Brian. Don't worry about that shit.
So to go back to the point that you had, you were talking about sex earlier, because I thought about this a lot for in building a society, and some of the solutions that people had to the population growth problem was actually teaching a form of tantra, which is where you withhold your seed when you're having sex. So in all
I ain't
fairness,
even trying to hear about that.
In all fairness, I gave it a go, right?
Right.
And it's pretty interesting, the dynamics. Now, I don't think I would try this, personally very often. But if you created a system where you actually taught sex, and this was one of the ways that you could do it, and not
how is tantra any better than the pull-out method? I barely trust people to drive cars. You think I'm going to trust them to pull out all the time?
You know that feeling that you get. It doesn't matter if you're having sex or if you're masturbating, whatever. You get that feeling after you're done. That's just kind of a bummer, any way you look at it.
Really?
It's kind of like, yeah, a little bit. It's way better with sex than masturbating. Like if you're using a fleshlight, the feeling is like 10 times. But even when you're having sex, it's like sometimes there's that kind of really cool, like glowy feeling afterward. I guess I understand that, but it kind of allows you to keep. First of all, it allows you to keep doing it like indefinitely for like a long period of time. So you can just go to the point of climax and then you cool off, you chill out, you hang out, and after you do that with the person, it's not like go get cleaned up, we're gonna sort something else out. You're like still in the mindset, so you can stretch it out for these long periods of time.
It sounds like you're blue balling yourself to death, son.
You could basically occupy a massive amount of time having sex, and it's pretty fun. Actually,
what if the chick gets all dry? It's like, motherfucker, will you just come? Jesus Christ.
Well,
attention whore.
You just peace out for a little while. But that was one of the ideas that they taught. Obviously contraception is super important, but just teaching different methods is going to be vitally important.
I don't think we should teach them tantra. Fuck all day. This is what I want you to do.
But
hold on to your loads and fuck all day.
But imagine how much more entertaining that is than just fucking for 5 minutes and then that's it. That's all you're done. You get to stretch out something that's enormously enjoyable.
Medium?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, fuck her and then take her out to dinner. And always do it in that order. The worst is when you see a guy who takes a girl out to a comedy club and he hasn't fucked her yet, and she's all mouthy and shit and yelling shit out, and you're like, why is this? I'll tell you why, because you didn't fuck her. You didn't fuck her before you leave. And that's true shit. If you gorilla fuck a girl before you leave the house, first of all, she's not trying to draw an extra attention. Her genetics tell her she's already gotten fucked today. Chill out. You don't need any extraordinary amount of attention. Don't need any extraordinary love. Just settle the fuck down. But if you don't fuck them and then you take them out into the wild and they're pumping out all those someone's gonna fuck me tonight hormones, and it might be you, hopefully it's you, but if she's a crazy bitch, she's trying to see if there's another offer out there. She's like, maybe I'm not even gonna stay with him. Who knows? Woo! It's fucking. I'm funnier than him.
A lot of those effects are not only evening dependent, but whole relationship dependent. Girls who've just never properly gotten.
Never probably got
biologically fucked.
Or never been with a man. How many girls have you ever met that date really weak dudes because they're terrified of being in a situation where a man controls them, because either a man was abusive earlier in their life, or they had a bad father relationship or stepfather relationship. There's something where they're shy away from any strong man. Where they're literally forced to be the man in the relationship, and they have. I know girls that are constantly involved in beta men, guys with real issues that can never get it together. They're always fucking falling behind on their bills. They're always, and these girls are always nagging at them to get their shit together. And it's this weird relationship, man, where the woman makes more of the money and the woman pays for the car, and he has to borrow it from her when he wants to go out, and it's like, wow, it's such a clear situation to everybody else. You see on the outside, you're like, look, this is not good. This is fucking completely unnatural, dude. There's a reason why she's yelling at you.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we're all equal. We're all even. It's all the same. Who cares, man? She makes the money. I help out around the house. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
There's no way you're fucking her correctly. You got to fuck her like you have all the money. That's the only way you're supposed to fuck them. You're supposed to fuck them like you have all the money. Daddy's going to take care of everything. And you can't say that. She's like, Daddy can't even take care of his own fucking car bill. Oh, bitch, make my dick go limp. And shit gets ugly.
There's some definite demasculinizing movement that has caused a whole crop of males to be, pretty ineffectual, I think, when it comes to
I think a lot of it is because women
have
have to take care of themselves, and they don't want to hear your bullshit. And then men want those women to like them, so they become emasculated. Or demasculated. Divorce is brutal. That chops away a guy's
living with your mom at a small age, also.
Just with your mom?
Yeah, I lived with my mom and my sister.
It turned you into a little gay boy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I got to fuck with a real doll. Well, it's not a real doll, but it's better than a real doll. Last
Really?
night, we had this Santa roast at Death Squad where we just roasted Sam Tripoli dressed up as Santa Claus and everyone. And this company it's called Synthetics.com.
Whoa, I'm looking at that picture. Holy shit.
And he's this guy and his girlfriend.
Spell it.
All right.
Synthetics, S-Y-N?
Synthetics.com. And it's just him and his wife, and he does everything by hand, and he just sculpts these beautiful fucking like real doll type things. Man. And it would have been, it's so perfect. I wish like him and Fleshlight would team up, because he has like a part of like these vaginas that you can take out and clean and stuff like that. And they're kind of like Fleshlight-ish, but I could just imagine putting a real fleshlight in that thing, because it felt real, it looked real, and it was so weird seeing Sam Tripoli. Like after the show was done, we were all hanging out, and Sam was just sitting there staring at it like a little kid looking at boobs for his first time, and that's what the reaction to everybody that was looking at these things. I didn't fuck one of these. No, okay. We just had a couple at the Christmas party.
How much do they cost?
About $5,000.
Dude, it's amazing how lifelike this is.
The boobs feel real. You open up the mouth. I mean, it's creepy when you're looking at it. It's awesome.
This is amazing how realistic it looks. I'm like really shocked.
Yeah. And here's me and Jade and Cole. Like we were just raping this one girl.
A fake one.
Yeah, because it's cool because you just pull down her pants and look at her butthole and stuff. It was, and her butthole comes out, so you can put new kinds of buttholes in and stuff. It's really weird.
Wow, they have a bunch of different models.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
And it's cool because I got to talk to him, and it's like, how do you design them? And he's like, well, this girl, started off with a photo of Megan Fox, and then we took the body using this like famous, 70s.
We just crushed that website.
Oh, really? Yeah, I feel bad.
Just like that, we crushed it. I can't even get on it anymore.
Right. He'll be
I love doing that though. That's fun. I love when that happens.
But he said anytime if you want to do a podcast at the Ice House, he'll bring a couple by so we can play around with it and we can meet them and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
tell them to get with the Fleshlight people and come up with a better cooter. Yeah. How do you clean that thing out, man? It's not like the Fleshlight where you unscrew the bottom of it.
Well, the parts that you fuck up have like this, like they pull out kind of like a Fleshlight and
like a
fish
drawer
in a barrel.
on a refrigerator.
Yeah, and like the butthole comes out.
The next level is going to be hooking that up to a computer program where you get like some artificial intelligence.
He said he wants to take the put an iPhone dock in the neck of it so you can talk to Siri through the iPhone.
What?
Or through the mouth, and she'd be like, "Hello," whatever.
Well, you could get it to the point where it was like a sexual training device.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're going to come out with some sort of an Apple device where Siri communicates to your phone through like something that you wear. So you'll be doing like almost everything through Siri. Mm-hmm. This is the idea to it. Like you'll press a button and say, Siri, what emails do I have? And Siri, as Siri gets more and more advanced, so when whatever's in your pocket, you'll be doing everything through voice recognition software.
So Siri's going to control the.
So Siri control the fuck robot. Yeah. Well, hopefully fuck first, then destruct later. Right. Once we realize that we're fucking their robot daughters, that's when they're going to come after us.
One thing was funny is that his version of like the pussy part, which was like a kind of Fleshlight-ish, but
not good enough.
No, it was definitely you could see the quality of Fleshlight. It was a billion times better.
What is it in the softness of it?
I think it uses maybe a close similar kind of material with it. But what was different about his is that his wife or girlfriend painted like the lips a different color. Like kind of beat them up a little, kind of like made it really realistic,
like an old whore.
Yeah, like the makeup job. Like had an arm tattoo also.
Just catching dick for decades. Bam, bam. Just the entryway is all skidded. It's like fucking like when a plane keeps coming in for a landing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just skid.
Elbowy.
It's like skid marks on a fucking pool table.
Fear Factor was awesome last night, man. It was really interesting to see that the two muscle guys, like there was two guys on the show, like the big buff, like ripped guys, had such a hard time early on. I was like, wow, those two little gay guys just beat these little muscle guys.
That's not a way to be, man. That's not. I mean, they were saying that they're agile and they move well, but the bottom line is you're carrying around a bunch of unnecessary muscle that's not aiding you in your frame, the way you move. It requires a lot of fuel. You get really tired really easily. Like those guys that have like, when you see a guy that has an extraordinary amount of muscle on him, to someone who like does jiu-jitsu, to someone who does MMA, you look at that guy and go, how long can you last?
Yeah.
You can't last. All you have to do is grab a hold of you. All you have to do is engage a guy like that in a fight. Engage him in a fight, get a hold of him. I mean, they could be really explosive. All that muscle, he could really have a powerful punch. You have to be like really careful. But if you can get past that and somehow or another manage to get a hold of him and you know, just hang on. Just make him struggle to get off you. And in 10, 15 seconds, he's at 30% of what he was 15 seconds ago. Like literally, it's amazing. Like there are like, guys like that are always like one good exertion away from their heart fucking exploding in their chest.
Right.
It's like they have a computer, like a Celeron 300 processor, and they got it jacked up to 425. You're not supposed to be carrying around that much weight, man. You're just not. It's not natural. It's really hard to do. Like you got to put a bunch of shit in your system to make yourself carry that much weight. And most of those guys are non-athletic, you know.
Here's a question about the show. I don't know if you can answer this if I caught on something, but is there a do you guys say like, hey, you guys need to just make fun of each other? Because that chick last night was just like, you're ugly.
Oh,
your
no,
face
no,
is
we
gross.
didn't
Like that's just
ask her.
fucking crazy.
Well, that other girl talked some shit about her eyelashes first.
Oh, right.
The other girl opened up the gates of hell. But once she realized she didn't want to fuck with that girl because that black chick was mean and she was getting in her face about it. You're so ugly.
I'm
I
surprised
can't believe you're
not.
talking about my eyelashes. You're so ugly. She was like, you look like the evil stepsister.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not more Jerry Springer shit on that show.
Well, we keep it to a minimum. We showed very little of that argument, but that argument was a big argument.
Oh,
man.
really?
That shit went on for a while. I had to calm them down. I was like, hey, come on, listen, you guys are saying some mean shit. No, I shouldn't say you guys because it was just the girl. Because
Right.
once Tonika started talking shit, the other girl shut the fuck up quick, you know?
Yeah, how she treated her own husband, like making him
Yeah.
like, be like.
Well, again, you know, the fucking water seeks its own level. It's like we were talking about. Like that's not the kind of behavior that you want to hear. I want to hear in a girl, but for some dudes, they seek that out.
And I get it, man. Like I don't know if you remember the other day, Esther gave us a bunch of those drinks, those fruit
Yeah.
drinks, and I had one the other day because she left one over in the fridge, and it was orange, pineapple or something like that, and I was drinking it, and suddenly in my mouth a bug. You know the lightning bugs, what those look like, the ones that aren't lightning bugs but look exactly like a lightning bug.
So it got in the juice.
It was in the juice, and I was just pouring out, and right there, I was like about to puke. Like I was like, I couldn't even imagine drinking a whole fucking milkshake of that shit. Impossible for me. So
Yeah, you wouldn't be a good candidate. For
no,
that.
and heights, impossible
Yeah.
for me. Never.
You don't like to move that much.
Yeah.
So that's not good for you
Sleep
either.
factor, I'm on. Fear factor, no.
When you, I hate to like be morose though, but when you see people get sick and you see people that are unhealthy, do you ever stop and think, man, eventually I'm going to have to quit smoking cigarettes and actually get my body in some sort of shape? Does that ever come? Or are you just going to ride that bitch until the wheels fall off? Or are you not thinking about it until something breaks on you?
Yeah, probably more of that. So I'm probably more Ralphie Maying it, and then I'm gonna be like, no more marijuana for me. I'm only
You're just
eating
going to
cottage
wait
cheese.
till something breaks.
Well, I
and then
mean,
you'll get super healthy.
diet wise, Weight Watchers, I know you don't believe this, but diet wise, I eat really healthy, and I'm constantly like doing like juicing and making.
I believe
stuff
you
like that.
eat some healthy things.
But then I definitely, I'll have like an Olive Garden here or there or something like that where I'll just, I'm just eating like shit.
Pasta,
Or going crazy. But for the most part, if you look at my refrigerator, it's all like, it's kind of like your refrigerator for the most part.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't eat much though. That's the problem. I eat like last night I ate my first meal at 1 a.m.
Oh, that's not good. So your metabolism is all fucked up,
Yeah.
and you drinking coffee during the day too?
I drink coffee, and that pretty much makes me not hungry for a good 5 hours.
Yeah.
I think an important concept, even it applies to the muscle men and applies to everybody. I actually wrote about it on the On It blog. It's called "Are You Fit Enough to Survive?" And I think there's an important concept in there. Like, take away all of the normal rules. Let's go back to like a primitive state where you have to chase food for a while, maybe run after them a few days, and you have to do certain explosive movements in a fight against an animal or another.
Before
Someone
I
trying to
answer your
take
question,
woman-
just take a look at that shit right there. There you go, your answer,
Shit.
motherfucker.
Shit, you're gonna fall
Yes.
off the car first.
Equivocal answer, yes.
What's
but
up?
there's a certain amount of physicality that I think is necessary to maintain a proper mental balance, to even
For
feel
some
that.
folks, for some folks, yes. For other folks, I don't. I think some people are averse to physical activity. It reminds them of fucking gym class or whatever, and they don't like it.
But I
and-
think that especially for men, that haunts part of their physical psyche to know
Yes.
that they wouldn't, on a basic primal level, be fit enough to survive in a situation where there weren't all these rules in supermarkets and laws
unless
that
they
kind of break
have
them down.
mad Asperger's and they don't know what the fuck is going on. They're just sitting around counting numbers.
I think everyone's bodies are totally designed different because, like, you work out, you feel good when you work out. I work out, I fucking hate it. I've always hated it. Even when I was
you
a kid,
smoke
I
a
hated
pack
it.
of cigarettes a day, you eat dog shit all day.
Yeah, but even when I was a kid, even in gym class, even
Yeah.
anything, I hate it.
Well, yeah, I think you're.
But you enjoy it.
Yes. Well, we're very different, Brian. You know, I don't know if you figured that out yet. Especially body wise, man. You know, I don't know how much. I mean, look, I know that the way I'm built is a lot of it is genetics because my mom's built like me. My mom is short and wide. My mom's built like a bulldog, man. She's not a petite lady by any stretch of the imagination. She has these big ass wide feet, and they're always breaking shoes. Like she has all these problems with her feet because her feet were always way too wide for women's shoes. You know, I mean, it's good if you want like a sturdy brick carrying Sicilian. I mean, you know. That's what my mom's probably, her genetics are really good for, carrying heavy shit around, like back in the homeland. But that's like, I got those genetics. You know, it's like, it's real clear that like, if I don't work out, I don't trust myself. I don't like the way I resolve issues. I don't like how quick my temper is. I don't like it.
Yeah, see, that shit doesn't happen for me at all.
Well, it's also, but then there's the nature versus nurture thing, because I know the certain amount of it is biological, but a certain amount of it is also I've been feeding my body this adrenaline, energy, explosion. And my body, from the time I was a small boy, has been exploding on things, just smashing things. And when your body grows up like that, and it's sort of like engineers itself to perform under those balance loads, you know, on those extreme loads rather. Then when it builds up for that, and then when there's no load, there's no release, there's no explosion, there's no sprints, there's no smash. All of a sudden you just got all this smash juice, and it's not going anywhere. And somebody cuts you off in traffic. Fuck you! I'll fucking spew my smash juice on you. You know, I mean, when you see, there's a lot of people that you see in traffic, man, and they're fucking freaking out and going off on someone. A lot of those people just need a physical thing. They need a physical thing to keep their body in balance. The body is not, it's not even. Everybody's are different. But for a lot of us, we're not getting nearly as much smash out as the body requires.
I really think it's everybody. I really think everybody can benefit from it. The human organism was designed for activity, not for sitting in front of a computer for 9 hours, sitting in front of, driving home and then sitting and watching TV. We're not designed that way. We're designed to be active. And so to compensate, we have to create particularly intense 1-hour sessions often because we are going to be sitting the rest of the time. It's just the nature of how our jobs are. But that physical release, I think, is important, not just for the body. Obviously, the health benefits of the body are immense, but for the mind as well.
You know what I've been doing, man? I've been doing light workouts throughout the day. Instead of like just one big fucking crazy workout a day, I had a back issue. I kept getting the same muscle pull in my back because I would let it get like 3/4 of the way healed and then jump back into jiu-jitsu class and fuck it up again. So I had to take like a certain amount of time off. And when I took time off, I found out there's a lot of shit that I could still do that wasn't fucking with me. So I did it like easily. So I said, today I'm just going to do a couple sets of chin-ups and a couple sets of dips, and that's it. Let's see if that fucks with my back. No, it doesn't. Well, let me try it tomorrow. I'm going to just do it. And then I started doing all these things like throughout the day. I would do it like several times a day, where I would do just a few kettlebell exercises, and I found that I was getting like less sore, but I was getting like strength gains. It's like because when I was doing it over the course of a few months, I was noticing that when I do like these little smaller workouts, like a friend of mine told me that he got the best results on his chin-ups when he installed a chin-up bar in his house, and every day he would just do 10 chin-ups. Every day. Not that hard. 10's easy. 1, 2, 3. You do 10 and he's done. But he did it every day. And then he said, after a while, I could do 20. And he goes, crazy. It's just like your body, it just gets strong at doing that. And there was never a day where he did it to failure. He just did it to 10. But you do it every day and your body goes, all right, we need this fucking ligaments need more blood. We need to thicken this forearm up. And then next thing you know, his body, it was almost like no pain, but gain. You know,
those body weight workouts, a lot of people have had a lot of success with that. I think it was Herschel Walker that did just a ridiculous amount of push-ups.
A lot of people say that Herschel Walker also lifted weights and he lies about it. I don't know if that's true. Possible. I don't want to discredit him, but I do want to put that out there that I did read a lot of crazy shit that he said. Like he only drinks like a cup of soup and a fucking loaf of a couple pieces of bread and a salad. That's all he eat, and he'll eat once a day. And you're like, okay, where's all that mass coming from? Then there's got to be numbers involved here. There's got to be something has to come in to fill that. That doesn't even make any sense. And apparently, he wants people to think of himself as what he is. He takes a lot of pride in being an athletic freak. Yeah. I mean, whatever the fuck he's doing and eating and whatever weights he's lifting, the guy's 48 years old and he's in amazing monster shape. You know, I mean, he's still like a real super athlete. But, you know, he had like, I believe it was trauma-induced multiple personality disorder. I believe it was trauma-induced. You know, I mean, from all the years of playing football, I think he had a lot of issues, you know, and I believe he wrote a book about that. So who knows how much he remembers. There might be one per Herschel's just eating steak all day and fucking doing squats.
It's not Herschel, it's Herman.
Yeah,
Herman eats the steak.
Herschel Dose, who somebody's working out. I'll tell you that. I mean, he obviously does the push-ups and the sit-ups and everything else too. But the guy's he's just one of those dudes that's just in monster shape, man. Yeah, if he ever got into football or into MMA when he got into football, if it was around back then, he might have been like an all-time great, you know, because you think,
to stop.
Oh my God, we haven't really seen that yet. We haven't really seen a guy who was like a super. We're seeing it in John Jones, you know, John Jones. We're seeing it, but before John Jones, we're never seeing like some guy who just can learn shit really fast and he's ridiculously strong, and it seems like he's just has an advantage over everyone he faces. When John Jones grabbed Lyoto Machida in that fucking standing guillotine, you know, like you just knew Lyoto was not getting out. Yeah. Like his strength, you know, his ability to manipulate bodies, it's really freaky to watch, man. He's got like I describe it as like he's got like some crazy ant strength. Yeah. You know, we see an ant pick things up effortlessly. Ant picks up a leaf, and it's like, how the fuck is that ant just picking up that thing? If you look at it in relation to its body, like, my God, it did it like effortlessly.
More impressive to me was his Ryan Bader fight. Bader's a badass. Yeah. He's a great wrestler, strong dude.
He beast fucks dudes. He just throws them around.
It was impressive.
Nobody's ever even had him on his back. I mean, has anybody? Has everybody have you ever seen him in his guard?
At least Lyoto hit him a couple times good.
He did.
That was the first time
he could take a shot. He could take a shot. He took some hard shots. Yeah, but you know what? How about he figured out Lyoto's striking? How about that, man? He had one tough round, and then he came back in the second round, cracked him, got him to the ground. He cracked him with a fucking hard elbow, or a punch. It was a punch or an elbow.
The first one was like a left hook, I think, Lyoto was coming in.
Cracked him, and then got him to the ground, smashed him with an elbow, and that was basically all she wrote. It was one elbow. Lyoto got up, and he was dizzy. Yeah. I mean, he really said he couldn't focus, he couldn't see well, and then John got a hold of that neck. You know, it's like... Whew. That could be Herschel Walker could have been like one of those guys. Yeah. You know, he could. You know, there are guys out there. You know, the human body, as we were talking about before, they're not equal. They're just not. And some of them are getting better and better and better. You know. Yeah,
and back in the day, someone like John Jones would have a few thousand babies because they'd be on some the top warrior in some marauding force. You know, I read a stat that Genghis Khan. They found a certain DNA in his Y chromosome, and Genghis Khan is related to 0.5% of the world's population.
Holy shit.
0.5%. It's like 8% of all the Asiatic people, but 0.5% of the entire world. Because of just the amount of people that he had sex with and his descendants had sex with. Because the Kublai Khan then went into power, and he ran the Chinese dynasty. But that kind of effect... we won't ever see anything like
Wilt that. Chamberlain, 10% of America is Wilt Chamberlain's DNA.
Yeah, it's crazy, but there was something to be said.
How many people do you think Genghis Khan fucked? He didn't even have Viagra back then. Yeah, he just did it on pure hate. Just a hate dick.
He was planning inside. I mean, he was trying to have. Genghis's, I mean, there was no pulling out for Genghis Khan.
Yeah, I wonder how many. Yeah, he must have just shot loads in it all day. Isn't that amazing that's how people rolled back then? They just made as many kids as they could. Yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody, but Genghis Khan and his boys. Well, we're just assuming, right? We're just fucking. This might be slanders.
Those pussies must be so disgusting.
They got the
then.
DNA test for Genghis in particular, but
it probably didn't smell good.
But I think there's something to be said for that kind of phenomenon because nowadays the best. I mean, Genghis Khan was not only physically, unbeatable as he rose up through the tribes in the Mongol, steppe and the plateau. Nobody could defeat him. He won all his tribal battles. But then as a military mastermind, he was brilliant as far as what he did. Kind of revolutionized a lot of the theories of warfare. So very intelligent, very physically capable. And by his, sexual encounters, at least the genetics part. I mean, fatherhood was a whole other issue, and the humanity involved in all the rapes.
I'm sure he was a great father.
But as far as
it was probably better off with him not being home.
As far as genetically,
and this is how strip clubs were invented.
As far as genetically advancing, the genetic race probably played some positive part in that, and that'll never happen again. Like the geniuses of our world, like the most amazing people who could, genetically speaking, purely, advance the human race. They're not having 1,000 babies anymore. They're not even having 10. They're having 1 or 2, but really probably what would be beneficial would be if they had, tons of babies. I mean, that would really actually further the human race. That's the principle of sexual selection. As it happens in the animal kingdom, that's how it works. The biggest, smartest, baddest lion has the most babies. It doesn't happen in man.
That as we approach some sort of a symbiotic relationship with computers and technology that's inescapable, the power of the physical becomes less important.
Sure. So it should be the smart. It should be the smartest person.
The smartest people have to get that pussy.
The people who have the power now aren't the physically strongest. They're the smartest. They get the money. The money. You listen to Al Pacino. You get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women.
He didn't say women. He said pussy, bro.
Did he say bitches?
Don't ever clean it up by first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the pussy.
What movie was that? Scarface?
Scarface. Didn't he say you get the pussy?
I can't remember. I've only seen that once, and I've never seen.
Did you get the bitches?
I don't usually like watching the Italian movies.
Did you say Italian movies?
Yeah, I don't really like the Italian movies too much.
Oh, Brian. Yeah, obviously, the smart people are not getting to breed at the same rate as Genghis Khan did, but I think people in general are just much smarter and much more aware and much more in tune than ever before. But as far as like super geniuses, the biological race over the technological race, it seems to me the technological is so fucking far ahead of the biological that it's almost ridiculous to assume that the biological is ever going to catch up, whether it's through natural selection or not. It just seems like technology in the short amount of time that it's been around has achieved so much momentum and so much innovation. It's gone so many generations and models greater than what it was when it was first introduced, that it seems like inevitable that that's going to be the big tip-off. It's going to be a technological innovation sort of a thing that changes everything. And that the idea that the human body is going to get good enough to catch up to that, I think that's ridiculous. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be some sort of a large-scale genetic engineering of the human body.
We're too late. We're too late for the
We're going to be super people, bro. We're going to be Thor. We're going to have the ability to fly.
But you're also creating, a lot of this, technology is moved by genius people, outliers, a lot of the time. We're also not, we're closing down the possibilities for that genius to genius mating that would naturally occur to create.
That's okay, because a genius can just shoot a load into a cup and make 1 million new people from it.
That's true.
I think
that's true. Maybe that's the direction it goes.
When we figure out how the body is actually created, how organs are created, and we figure out the ability to replicate them, we're going to be able to figure out the way to make a super body. And whether it's through some sort of a genetic manipulation to a person that is already exists in a certain form, like in fucking Captain America, when they lock him in that tube and they zap him with all that blue shit, and then boom, he comes out a super person. That's not too far away. Don't you think that seems to me like it would be way easier to do than it would be to send picture through the air and have it go to someone else in Australia or China or something like that? That seems to me way more impossible than you can improve a biological unit. We understand cells, we understand cell division, we understand the mitochondria, the power plants of the cells, we understand genetics, we sort of mapped out the human genome. Our understanding increases, and I shouldn't say our, because it's people far smarter than you or I, but those people, the people at the head of it, their understanding increases every single year. Their data grows, their abilities grow. It's going to reach some point. Really, it seems obvious that in the future it's going to reach some point where they're going to be able to make a fucking superhuman.
Yeah, well, then the moral and spiritual implications as far as whether that's a good thing or not a good thing come into play. But
it's like who the fuck.
A lot of movies have explored
it. Why is there a good thing at all? Why is there a bad thing? Why does the universe have that even as an option? Well, it seems to that you have to have it in order to inspire movement. It's almost like you have to have tyranny to really come up with freedom. You have to you have to have people pushing you down.
Resistance from the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems. Why else would the universe have evil? I mean, all this stuff that exists, terrible feelings, horrible things you see, atrocities, the guy in Brooklyn who lit the woman on fire in the elevator. Why do these even exist? Why does the universe have this as an option? If this does seem to be some sort of a mechanism or a program that's moving towards a very specific an idea or a goal, something specific is there's something going on. There's a process that the human being is involved in. Just like bees making a beehive. We're involved in some really super complicated process.
I think that I agree with that, but I think that there's, that's kind of looking at a kind of a linear curve of progress. And I think there's some things missing from our evolution. And I think our spiritual base has gotten thrown way off. And I don't know if it's just the momentum of the religions or...
Do you think it's possible that that's natural? Do you think it's possible that this lack of connection to the spiritual was almost necessary to create this technological fucking bizarro world that we live in with no conscience and no thinking about the future and no planning? It's almost like you need a disconnect. In order for this thing to arise out of the human animal, we need to become some sort of a technological zombie that just creates and goes forth and does its bidding, does the bidding of the technology. Much like those fucking mushrooms. I think it's a cordyceps mushroom that gets inside the fucking ant's head and makes them explode. And
the moth, actually.
Yeah. Well, it does it to ants too, right? Isn't there fungus that grows? I've seen
different
specials.
fungus, yeah.
I mean, that's really what it's like. It's like we're infected with technology. It's almost like technology is what's keeping us from recognizing all these other spiritual realms and keeping us pushing forth in a certain direction. Because if you think about it, without any technology whatsoever, they would never be able to stop mushrooms. They would never be able to stop pot. They wouldn't know where anything is. They wouldn't be able to arrest you. They wouldn't be able to put you in jail. They wouldn't be able to make laws. They wouldn't be able to communicate. They wouldn't have the news. There would be nothing. There'd be nothing. So it would be impossible. So technology allows people to be suppressed. As much as it gives them freedom, it also allows people to be suppressed and stay zombies and keep on the task. Keep on the task. I wonder, man. I mean, everything else is natural. We look at wolves. Wolves is whatever fucked up thing they do where they push the beta male out and he's going to starve to death. We look at it's horrible, but we also know that it's natural. And it happens over and over and over and over again. And there's, of course, a bunch of different scenarios that can take place. There's a lot of different things that can happen. But ultimately, they're moving in the same sort of a natural direction every time. How do we not know that our lives are not exactly the same way, just far more complex and intertwined, and we're aware of it? So it gives us this illusion that somehow or another this is just a random series of events.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's certainly a possibility, but I think that I do strongly believe that there were certain situations in which key people in the wrong moments and key movements in society kind of debilitated this natural spiritual flourishing that should have grown in conjunction with the technology. Maybe technology was always destined to outpace it a little bit. But
maybe
if you look
it's
at
your job to illuminate people. Maybe that's why you're here. You ever thought about that? Like this conversation is getting heard by hundreds of thousands of people. That's like a little tiny spark, a little hachu that gets into the bloodstream of the world. A little virus that spreads out there.
I think that is part of the movement for change right now. I think we're out of balance as a society, and I think as a world, and I think we have to get back into it. It probably is.
Yeah, our indignation is natural. All the reaction is natural. Me wearing a Ron Paul shirt is natural. It's all natural. It's a push into a certain direction, and then that's the natural mode of response. That's what it's supposed to do.
And I think it has to happen. I mean, I think a lot of laws have to change. Things have to be dropped. I mean, we have shortcuts to get there. That's the fucked up thing. And these shortcuts grow naturally all over the world, and they just happen to be illegal. And we gotta change that, and we gotta give people the shortcuts, but also the foundation behind it. I mean, having somebody just saying, "Yeah, take mushrooms, go willy nilly." It's like telling someone to go into the deep jungle and not saying, "Hey, you got to bring mosquito repellent. You got to bring this."
It's like saying, "Here's some scuba equipment. Figure that shit out and go dive into the ocean."
That's not a good idea either. I mean, you still have to. There's these structures in place, and the shamans have had it figured out. It's thousands of years of lineage of teaching and how to explore these realms. Like you say, scuba gear is the perfect analogy. Don't go deep water diving unless you know exactly what you're doing. But if you do, you can get to these realms that give you direct access to God. And the reason why religions have, pushed against that, if you have direct access to the all, to the universe, to God, whatever name you want to put on it, then you don't need the priests. And if you don't need the priests, they have no power. So all of these religions came up putting intermediaries in place so that they could develop these massive power structures using guilt and different mechanisms to control the people. And it's, I think we got off course. And now, here's a chance to correct.
Well, that was John Marco Allegro's thoughts for the whole creation of the Bible in the first place, that it's suppression of information, that the original stories were hidden in these, these little tales in the Bible with all these little hidden clues, but that really what it was all about was psychedelic mushrooms. That these people were just trying to preserve this information when they were captured by the Romans. It's fascinating if that is the root of it all.
Yeah.
The root of it all, just a few people trying to keep this experience, this connection to something else going, whether it's real or not, whether it's real or imagined. Like I said, Christianity maybe not real, but fucking helps you for sure. Well, if something's going on, if it's fake, and yet it still helps. I know a lot of people, believe it or not, they believe, and because they believe, they've become better, their life has been enriched. So that's an effective tool,
Sure. Well, I mean, you also have to think, obviously there needs to be a place for that, and Christianity can fill it, but is it the best tool to fill that, fill that void?
Well, the thing
could
about
there not be
Christianity,
a better one to develop?
The difference between, like, a lot of people say, like, why would you talk bad about someone's ideas when it comes to, like, Christianity, but yet you espouse all these ridiculous ideas when it comes to drugs? Well, first of all, it's not all drugs, it's psychedelics, and second of all, just try one. Just you take a deep mushroom trip and tell me there's not something going on. It's really one of those things where it's a repeatable experience. Anyone can do it. You really can. And then you'll understand what the fuss is all about, because it's not as simple as a hallucination. It's not. There's definitely some perturbing of your visual senses. There's your perceptions of the world. But then there's also a voice, and there's a conversation with something that seems outer worldly that's communicating with you in some sort of a telepathic way. And there's always a deep insight into how your life works, and a really clear illumination of all the issues that you've got going on, which is like, why would there be an experience that's both humbling and enlightening and guiding? And why would there be that? And is it just your imagination? Is it that simple? Is it that simple, or is this how a life form communicates?
Well, there's two ways to look at it. Yeah, there's the what is actually happening way, but then there's the simple pragmatic, effect of how it affects people who take it, and overwhelmingly the people who have taken these with the right intent in the right setting have these mystical experiences that change their life for the positive. So whatever you're accessing, pragmatically, it's a positive benefit. It fills this void to find the mystic. Obviously myself and you believe that there is something else out there that you're accessing for sure, and the traditions do as well. But either way, just on a purely pragmatic approach, it's having positive benefit.
Huge
on a
positive
human's
benefit. Studyable. The Johns Hopkins University did that recent magic mushroom study that they did. Improved long-term psychological health. This is it's a legit university. They're coming to this conclusion after doing tests on people. The point there is they say they found a sweet spot where we can optimize the positive, persistent effects and avoid some of the fear and anxiety that can occur and be quite disruptive, says lead author Roland Griffiths, professor of behavioral biology at Hopkins. So what he's essentially saying is what everyone's been saying. You need a shaman.
Yeah.
A shaman who doesn't just like throw you out into the fucking woods, but gives you the correct dose and allows you to achieve this state of oneness. Whatever it is, this state, let's just call it bliss. So we take out all the woo-woo. Let's just call it this state of enhanced experience that is a psychedelic bliss.
It's bliss mixed with self-reflection. And critical self-reflection. Very fair,
honest, and uncomfortable at times.
Sure.
And that's a hallmark of all psychedelic experiences, is the personal reflection.
Yeah.
In eating marijuana is one of the most personal reflecting things you can do. That's why a lot of people hate it. They hate when they go too deep, when they fuck up and eat a brownie and like, you bitch, and then they sit down and freak out about the fucking world. As much as you think you are looking at the whole thing, I bet you're not looking at it all, because you can't. In order to get in your fucking car and get on the 405 every day and drive into downtown LA, the only way you can do that every day is if you compartmentalize your thinking. And if you're thinking about the very structure of the universe, you're thinking about you get into subatomic particles. You start thinking about waves and string theory and craziness and what is cells and biology and the different organisms that live in your body and the healthy bacteria you consume and yogurt and fucking acidophilus and like what's going on here? You can't. There's not enough room for that.
Right.
You can't process all that shit. So you got to put your blinders on. But then you eat that brownie and it all just blasts into focus, You feel your heart beat. It seems weird. Seems tired.
Yeah.
Like, how many more beats
Well, they
does
say
it
the best
have left?
analogy I heard was that, taking psychedelics is like a banquet for the spirit. It takes a while to prepare. It's very rich, takes some time to digest. You can't do that every day, but and what fills the void, eating dinner in this analogy is meditation and just doing a little bit. It could be yoga, it could be 10 minutes in your house, but actually finding that point of stillness in our lives, that's dinner. And then the banquet is when you get to really go into the void and bring back some knowledge and some different experience. But I think that would be the one thing, if we could create one rule, and if I could say I had omnipotent power, the one rule would be that there would be some shamanistic tradition that had a coming of age custom ceremony in the world, in which when you came of age as a society, you had a psychedelic mystical experience with a trained guide, with your peers and with your elders, and had this community experience, even if it was only just one. So you got to experience and taste that something else that's wholly other than just yourself and kind of transcend your own ego, even for one evening. And I think that would make single-handedly the most difference as far as change in society. That one coming of age ritual in which they got to experience that. I think that would be it.
Unless someone made it like boot camp. Now you are a warrior. Bom. And you fucking take your sword and you go out in the world and try to fucking cut down your kingdom.
Yeah. No, it couldn't be like that. But the shamans don't, they never, and I wouldn't say never, obviously there's different shamans, but the tradition is not in that. It's in transcending the ego. And a lot of those kind of warmongering mentalities is very ego-driven. Like, I will stomp you because I am strong. You don't get that from the psychedelic experience. I mean, you could get that from
didn't the
mushroom
Norsemen?
Yeah.
They got it from Amanita muscaria. They would go berserker.
You can certainly channel it into some very invincible, aggressive states.
Especially if that's like your reality. I mean, that's what you want Odin to guide you to victory, man. I mean, your reality is not. There are no vacation homes. Okay, for the fucking Vikings. There is no Disneyland resort that you can take the kids. It's about cutting people's heads off before they cut your heads off. Right? Yeah. It's about storming the beaches and taking all the women. That's what he wants, some mushrooms to help him out with this. There was no other way to live, Were there any, pacifist Vikings?
No, they didn't survive.
Conscientious, objective Vikings?
They didn't make babies.
Yeah,
they didn't make babies.
None of that going on back then, bitch. You're there for one reason, to make little baby Brock Lesnar's.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was the goal, yeah. I think mushrooms in particular allow you. I believe that there's kind of two energetic forces out there, and they're not good and they're not evil. One's just you can call it the dark or you can call it the light, but one's more really the primal side of life. It's that kill or be killed. It's that kind of savage animal dominant side, and that has a certain energy that has some destruction elements to it, but it's all, like you said, it's all part of the same thing.
And some people some people don't have it, and some people are really purely intellectual, and they're not connected to the physical, but their intellectual is like off the fucking charts. And I think that's also a part of this big crazy puzzle. Is that there's a you and there's a me and there's a Brian, and there's
sure.
It's like that old song. It takes every kind of people. I mean, it sounds so stupid and ridiculous and simple, but it really does. I mean, in order to accomplish this greater goal, this bizarre, multicultural, uber complex civilization, it really does require almost every conceivable personality all working together.
But I still think that people should strive for internal balance. I think that leads to the biggest happiness. I think being able to access both.
If you're pulled towards that, if you feel like it's missing in your life, and for a lot of people that is the case. A lot of people are very unhappy. A lot of people do not feel fulfilled. I feel very lucky that everything I enjoyed that I do in my life, I enjoy these things. I enjoy every podcast I do. I enjoy all of my friends.
Except Saturdays.
Saturdays kind of sucked, but that wasn't your fault. Shit happened, man. You can't get Daryl Wright and a porn star in one room and expect fucking sparks. if you can figure out a way to do that, to find whatever it is you do that you really get satisfaction with, whether it's carpentry or whether it's painting pictures or whatever the fuck it is, that really is one of the most important things. And then no cunts. Have a no cunt rule. Just no cunts. Don't be a cunt. Just stop it. And people get mad at me on the message board because I keep fucking pinking people and banning people. The way my message board is set up on joerogan.net is there's a bunch of moderators. All of them I know personally, or at least I know them online, and they're all really cool. And they don't want you being a douchebag. It's really simple. If you act too annoying, you're trying too fucking hard, you stumble in and piss off people, you get cunty, you just get moved to the stupid room. In the stupid room, you get a pink name, and and now everybody knows you fucked up. You either acted like an asshole, or you were rude, or you got annoying, whatever the fuck it is. You're not being cool. You're not enhancing things. And for some reason, people think that you're supposed to, by giving them free speech, you allow them into your little cyber room. You allow them to be cunts. Like, people have mistaken free speech for you can be a cunt with no repercussions. Like, damn it, on the internet. What about free speech? It's like, this isn't speech. You're just cunty. You're allowed to talk, but I don't have to listen. I shut you off. I don't want you around. Do you not understand that you're an unpleasant vibe? It's not, no one's stopping you from starting your own message board. No one's starting you. But what they're saying is, in a cyber home, you're not welcome anymore because you're annoying, because you come over and you bring a bad vibe. And people, for whatever fucking reason, because they're so entitled with this sense of anonymity and this unnatural way of behaving that people have, because there's no social repercussions. The norm is to be cunty. The norm is to say bitchy shit that would make me tell you to get the fuck out of my party. And you think you could just do that. And they think they could just do it and get away with it. And you're an asshole if you call them out. Like, dude, just stop talking about me. Stop being a dick. Go away. Bye-bye. Imagine having a party and some guy comes over and just criticizes everything you're saying, and says you're half retarded and some of your ideas. Like, oh, okay, get out of my fucking house, dude. Just go. You obviously
they don't get it, man. Yeah, they don't get it.
It's like, there's other ways to communicate, you fuck, and you're thinking that there's only one way because you've been doing it this way for so fucking long. You actually feel entitled to be a cunt. Treat it like it's a house. Would you come over someone's house and you're meeting them, and would you communicate with them like that? If you would, I would kick you out. It's really that simple. Don't think you can come into my cyber house and not get kicked out for being annoying.
Don't make me buble you. Oh shit, I just did.
Shit.
Have you been bubled? Is there an update?
Nothing.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything.
They call that buble denial.
Dude, I haven't seen a goddamn thing. It's true.
Did you watch Saturday Night Live?
No, I don't watch.
You watched Fear Factor last night?
I watched
you saw
that.
Buble 32 times.
I had to tweet it. I was tweeting live.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if you were doing that for.
Yeah. I told them I would do it.
That's cool.
It's fun, but I can't give away spoilers.
Right.
I have to make sure that everything I'm saying is like no spoilers.
Yeah.
Just gotta protect the information from the people. What?
You were watching East Coast time. How the fuck is that? Because you have DirecTV?
Yo, I just know shit, though. Yo, dog, I know people. I know to hook that shit up.
I see.
I wanted to bring something out while Aubrey's here. And yes, his name used to be Chris. If you go back and go, man, there used to be a podcast
second thoughts.
where there's a guy looked just like that.
Not at all.
No second thoughts, huh?
It's actually finally gotten to the point where Chris sounds weird to me.
Really?
It's just kind of.
It's not that many people that can pull off changing their fucking name, and having us not make fun of it. Well, we had to make fun of it a little. I guess you got a little of it.
I get a little bit of it.
But it ain't that bad.
I still get a few of that. Hey, well, who's that girl, Aubrey?
Especially in Texas, I would imagine.
Yeah,
you go named Aubrey.
Yeah. Do you ever wear beaded bracelets? Do you ever do that?
No, not usually. I do have.
You call yourself Aubrey and you have like wooden beads.
He has those shells, shell necklaces.
Oh, the shell necklaces. Isn't that a John Heffron joke?
Is it? I don't know.
Hey, I wanted to talk because obviously we know each other originally from the Fleshlight. A lot of people might not know that, and then we're sort of in business together and on it, and making Alpha Brain and Shroom Tech Sport, and by the way, I love that fucking Shroom Tech. That stuff's the shit before jiu-jitsu. It's great for working out. Yeah. Is there B12 in that too?
There is.
How much B12?
Methylcobalamin. There's like 2,000 micrograms in there.
That's a
good
lot.
amount. But the methylcobalamin is a different type of B12 than the cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin actually creates a molecule of cyanide when it's released into the body, but methylcobalamin is called methyl B12. A lot healthier for the body and a lot better. But a lot of people take, like an athlete that gets an injection.
Yeah.
Halftime, that's tens of thousands of micrograms of B12. So it's water soluble. Releases any excess, just releases through urine. So the body will utilize what it can, and then just pee out the rest.
And the cordyceps mushroom was first used by Chinese athletes. Is that who they figured it out
used
first?
by Chinese, but they figured it out 2,000 years ago. Cordyceps, the herdsmen in northern Tibet and China, they're in extremely high altitudes, and up there in those altitudes, the herds and the people get very sluggish. And they noticed that when a certain type of mushroom was available and on the ground, and the herds would eat it, the herds would become particularly active, and they would be moving around. They'd have more endurance. They'd be able to push them harder, and they'd be playing more. And so back in the day, that was your biggest cue if you were just a person kind of looking around. So they took a look at these and they tried them themselves and found the same results. And what we know now is that the cordyceps mushroom, it's actually a symbiont to the ghost moth, which is the host for this for the mushroom. And what they believe that it does is the same thing that it does in people and in other animals that ingest it. It increases the oxygen utilization and cellular energy of the animal, of the moth itself, to allow the moth in this extremely high altitude plane to be able to fly better, to be able to fly longer, and actually survive and adapt. And then when the moth dies, the cordyceps mushroom actually springs out of it. And so the first people to discover it in form of like real athletic competition was Coach Ma and the Chinese Olympic team.
So if you take shroom tech and then you die, are mushrooms going to grow out of your fucking head? I'm serious, man. Is it like those ants? It's like those ants in fucking in the is it the Amazon? Whatever jungle it is, where those ants get infected by spores, and then those spores explode out of their fucking head and contaminate the other ants.
These are dead and dried. Otherwise, it could be possible. No,
really,
these are dead and dried and taken care of by
if
the
they're dead and
system.
Dried, then what is the benefit? Where's the benefit coming from?
It's still coming from what's inside the mushroom. There's a lot of available raw adenosine, which is what is an important factor in the ATP ADP cycle.
So don't go growing your own cordyceps mushroom and just eating them bitches.
The digestive system will kill all that anyways, but
it doesn't on ants.
But it's a different mushroom for ants. Cordyceps is only found in the north, in the high regions of Tibet and China. And it was actually the most expensive nutritional compound in the world for a while. It was getting up to over $20,000 a kilo.
Holy
of cordyceps mushroom at some point.
Is it because it's really hard to grow?
It's impossible to grow, really, until they could only wild cultivate it from these moths. So it was very difficult until Aloha Nutritional, the company that we get it from, Dr. John Holliday, he made some real advances in medicine that allowed him to cultivate it in a competitive substrate that allows the cordyceps to grow and be very effective in a cultivated state. Otherwise, they had to
explain the competitive aspect of it, because that's really fucking fascinating.
Yeah, so they grow it in like a brown rice kind of compote substrate, and what they found is that mushrooms have to compete for a variety of things. When they come upon a log or any kind of different environment when they're in, depending on what's out there, they will put out anti-competition compounds, which actually both strengthen their own species and also eliminate the other species. So if there's a bunch of bacteria, they'll excrete certain things to thwart the bacteria that's trying to get at the decomposing log. But if there's other mushrooms, there's certain anti-competition compounds available in those mushrooms that's going to allow the mushroom to actually thrive. And some of those anti-competition compounds are some of the bioactive compounds that are found in the mushrooms.
Wow, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, it's pretty
so
cool.
by putting them in a competitive environment, it makes them
stronger.
stronger.
So in the cordyceps, you get more raw adenosine, and the oxygen utilization is another really cool thing, and that's very easy to test, actually, because you can actually take a mask, and the oxygen level is normally 20%, and you breathe it out at 13%. And then you put the mask on, and after taking cordyceps for 2 weeks, you'll come out, and the oxygen you intake is still at 20%, but you're breathing out at 8%. Which was one of the studies that they showed. So that's a 50% increase, roughly 40%.
That seems like that everybody would have to take it then. Is that really possible? That seems like too high. I don't notice it that high. I don't feel like it's that high when I take it. I don't feel like I have 50% more endurance.
Well, that's just oxygen utilization, though. That's not endurance. That's not measuring the actual endurance capacity.
But so oxygen utilization should be a huge part of that.
It should be a big part. And that study's been out. It's actually posted on the site. Other studies have shown varying different degrees, but always oxygen utilization is a key, and also adenosine providing increased ATP synthesis versus ADP.
The biggest boost that I ever got endurance-wise was when I had my nose fixed. because my nose was all fucked up and broken
Oxygen,
inside, and I
yeah.
couldn't get any air through it. I was a mouth breather. And then once I got my nose fixed, I was like, literally, like I got a 20% bump in my cardio.
Makes a big difference.
It's amazing. You know, that was the most amazing, obvious thing that I realized. But this is a fucking close second. When I have like real hard workouts, man, you know, especially like jiu-jitsu class, like, you know, I rolled for the first time in a while last night, and I rolled like, you know, deep into the class. Like a lot of times, you know, you go 5 or 6 guys and you just don't want to do it anymore. You're just done.
Yeah.
But this like gets me one extra roll. I feel like it's not easy, but it gets me one extra roll.
Sure.
And at the end of it, where I'm like, wow, I feel all right.
Yeah.
It 100% gives you a boost. But it doesn't give me that cracked out Red Bull
There's no stimulants in it. So surrounding the cordyceps, which is providing cellular energy versus glandular energy. Glandular energy is basically tricking your body to release adrenaline. That's what caffeine and all these things are doing.
Right.
You're basically releasing more adrenaline. So you feel like you have energy, but your actual cells, which are still using the ATP cycle to produce energy, don't have any extra energy. So you push harder because you think you have
and you
more
crush
energy,
your adrenals.
But you crush your adrenals.
Kevin James was
this
told
is
by his
different.
doctor he had to stop drinking coffee.
Yeah.
He's killing his adrenals.
It's just pushing that button over and over
Yeah.
again until the button just doesn't have as much to give.
The button just turns to a leathery sack.
Yeah, this is operating on a totally different mechanism. And that's why you get that kind of physical burst. It's subtler than people. People who are used to taking it, explode. You know, they might be like, oh, this shit sucks.
That's a
Doesn't
good
work.
question. I wanted to ask you about this. I like that Jack 3D. I like that stuff before I
Sure.
work out. Can I take the two of them together? And
Absolutely.
There's no negative
yeah.
repercussions doing that?
They're doing completely different things. So, you know.
Jack 3D makes you fucking, you just feel like you got some energy too.
Yeah,
that stuff's good. And by
I'm
the way,
sure.
we have no affiliation with Jack 3D. Use whichever nitrous oxide supplement you enjoy. But a buddy of mine told me about Jack 3D. He's like, dude, I like this stuff. And I just started taking it. I was like,
is it good for you?
Give you a little boost. Yeah. You know what else is great too? Beta alanine. Beta alanine, Dr. Eulis told me about this. Eulis is a famous sports doctor, and he said this is one of the few things that he's noticed, like over the past few years, supplements that he finds to be really legit as far as like muscle building, like muscle recovery. He's found that he makes big gains with this stuff, or quicker gains than he's used to, and he's pretty in tune with his body. That's another thing about this shroom tech stuff. I think you have to be in tune with your body. Sure. And you know, when people ask me like, hey, what should I buy? You know, this stuff. Should I buy that shroom tech stuff? Like, do you work out? How hard do you work out?
Yeah.
If you don't work out really hard, save your money.
Wouldn't it be nice just for the energy boost, though, instead of having Starbucks every day to just
But
to do?
if you're used to Starbucks every day and you want
it's
that kind
different-
of energy, it's different.
kind of
It's a different
blasto.
kind of energy. Like once you start working out, that's when you really start to feel it. You know,
Yeah, I get that Starbucks. When you hit you get a grande coffee at Starbucks and you 2 sips in and you fucking love everything. Fuck yeah, I want to go fucking paint my car, you know? You get like almost like a meth crank sort of a like really excited feeling to it. You don't ever get that with Shroom Tech. Trenta, oh my God, that's 30 ounces?
Yeah, it's the size of your stomach.
Dude, you're going to die.
I do one of those a day.
That's going to jack your whole system, man.
Sleep.
for the
Yeah, you must be massively addicted
the
to
other
that, man.
Shroom Tech product though, everybody should definitely
Shroom Tech
consider
Immune.
taking it. Yeah, Shroom
and what
Tech
is the
Immune.
difference? What's the stuff
Whole
in
different
Shroom Tech
whole
Immune?
different set of mushrooms. So from Aloha Medicinals, Dr. John Holliday's, his kind of flagship product is this product called IO-Immune, which takes certain elements of these mushrooms that he grows together in the substrate. It's actually a very specific part of it, and they're called triple right hand helix polysaccharide beta glucans. And what these particular mushrooms do, and they're present in chaga mushrooms in particularly strong quantities.
I take that.
Yeah. And what they do is they actually trigger an innate response from the immune system. So in the body's natural immune system, the gut is responsible for a lot of the natural killer cells that actually fight all the pathogens and entering bacteria, viruses, cancer cells that are shed. And what happens at an early age for us is with all the antibiotics that are in our water and that we take, we end up killing scores of these probiotic bacteria in our stomach. So they are no longer available to create the amount of immune cells that can go attack any invading pathogens that get us sick all the time. So we're at a natural disadvantage. And they've done a ton of studies on this IO-Immune. They're using it at the same time as cancer patients getting treatment for chemotherapy, at the same time that hepatitis B patients are getting treatment with lamivudine, which is a prescribed pharmaceutical viral therapy, and having dramatically positive results in combination with other treatments because it's raising the body's natural immune system. And how it does it is these triple right-hand beta-glucan polysaccharide molecules, which are unique to these mushrooms. they are recognized by the body as foreign elements. And so the body mounts up their charge of innate and natural killers, these T cells and different killer cells, and basically builds an army to deal with this that's actually a benign threat.
So there's a cardboard army coming at them, and they have 100 nukes.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's crazy.
So they're mounting, they're rallying, and they're creating more immune cells that are capable of handling actual threats.
And is that taxing on your system at all?
No, it's what the system is supposed to have more natural killer cells in it naturally, innately. And as I was mentioning, I think you might have been rummaging, doing something. But what happens is when the gut gets all that probiotic bacteria gets killed from all the antibiotics in our different foods we eat, water, and different drugs, they're not able to produce an adequate quantity. So we're actually at an immune deficit naturally.
Do antibiotics actually make it from a cow into your body when you eat a cow?
There's a lot of people who believe so.
Has that been proven?
I don't know if it's been proven. That's kind of the theory that goes on, and I'd have to do some more research.
I would
on
say
that.
it makes sense
But
if you drink water with, they say that there's stuff in the water and it goes in your.
But who hasn't taken courses of heavy antibiotics? All of us have. And when you do that, you kill the probiotics, and what moves in instead in its place is yeast. And the analogy that I use, it's like once you get crabgrass in your lawn, you can sprinkle more seed, like by taking kind of probiotics. You can sprinkle more seed over the lawn, but it's not going to kill the crabgrass. They've taken up and occupied that spot. So we're operating, our natural immune cell producers are not there in the quantity that they should be, that they used to be. And so, really taking these particular mushroom stimulators is one way that we can actually build our army back up so it can fight off not only the little things, the little colds, the little flus, the little stuff that we just kind of deal with, but also, a lot of the big things start small. Different cells shed different mated cells. And a dendritic cell should be around to just say, oh, that thing's fucked up, I'm going to eat that. But a lot of times that doesn't happen just because we don't have the available immune innate response to challenge that. So ShroomTech Immune combines that patented, that proprietary compound, IOimmune, which has been well studied in a bunch of the studies, combines it with chaga mushroom, which is also another great mushroom that has a lot of the same triple right-hand helix beta-glucans. It also has etulinaic acid, which comes actually from the birch tree in which it is found. So wild harvested chaga is actually better for you than cultivated chaga.
There was a dude who had some whole video where he's pushing chaga. This is when I first started doing it. Some crazy guys tattooed all over his whole body with some weird, different inks and shit. So it was a mushroom specialist. But he had one. He had a chaga mushroom that he's holding up, and it's like this big fucking crazy looking thing, man. It doesn't look like a mushroom. It looks weird, man. It looks like a hunk of a log or something, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird looking mushroom.
It is, yeah. It grows, only on the birch tree naturally in the wild.
Mushrooms are closer to animals than they are to plants.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting species.
It's a weird fucking thing.
Been around forever.
The biggest organism in the world is a mushroom colony that lives in the Pacific Northwest.
And Amanita bulbosa, I think, is the species name of that colony.
Is that what it is?
It covers 37 acres.
Yeah, it's a giant organism that is in the ground.
Yeah.
It's really nuts.
It is.
Could you imagine a 37-acre being? I mean, you could take chunks of it and make other beings. You can import them other places, but essentially, it's one sort of a being, and it's like a network. If mushrooms really do have intelligence, like when you eat, there's a lot of people that believe that plants have a certain intelligence.
Sure.
They just don't have the ability to communicate. But if these mushrooms have an ability to communicate because they're all connected like that, and they have this intelligence, they can communicate with each other. That's some incredible information superhighway that's in the forest up there.
Yeah, it sounds very Avatar, but it's very possible.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But look, Avatar is based on a lot of hippy dippy woo woo ideas about the intelligence of plants. But I've talked to people, I have to research whether or not it's real, but plants can tell when they're around certain persons who have harmed them. If someone comes along and chops a fucking plant with an axe and that person's near the plant, you can register it on the plant. Don't know if this
There's
is
some
true,
interesting
though.
studies on the music influencing the growth of plants, like death metal versus classical music. Yeah, there's some really interesting studies on that. How
nobody likes death
the
metal. even plants. Even plants. They live in dirt and they survive on cow shit, but they have better taste than death metal.
Yeah, it's something about that energy put out there.
With alpha brain is a very fucking polarizing subject I found on the internet. It's a fascinating thing, man. Nootropics, we've been talking about nootropics on my message board for the longest time, and I've been experimenting with them for years. But until we started getting in the business of actually selling them, I didn't realize how cunty people can be about these things. But one of the criticisms, and I think there's some legitimacy to this, is the way it's marketed. And one of the things is, and you know, it's not on purpose, I don't think. I think the way you set it up was you're just trying to be enthusiastic about it. And the problem, somebody once said that, I forget where I wrote this. I believe I read it today. It might have been on the message board, but it was about in first impression that it's very difficult to take that back. And once you create something and you put something out there and people get an idea of who you are, it's very difficult for them to correct that and normalize and, you know, come. So you have to be really careful what your initial first thing is. And one of the things that we got criticized with is this guy Steve Novella, who's I don't know, some super smart dude. What do you know what
yeah, he was
university he's from?
I thought it was Yale, maybe, perhaps Yale University. He's
it doesn't say, but essentially what he's criticizing the way that the way that it's marketed, the way that the studies were put out there.
Yeah, and I think looking at that criticism, I think, and any variety of criticism, I mean, I think you have to just learn and adapt and get better from it. And I think he has a very skeptical mindset, which I think in a lot of avenues is very positive, but I think, you know, it can be overdone. He actually runs a few shows called, you know, The Skeptic, some Skeptic Hour, or some variety of different things. So he has that kind of framework in mind, but, you know, some of his criticisms are fair, you know, really. And what, you know, taking that criticism and, you know, a lot of criticism from the board that even if it's very negatively put, applying that has helped, I believe, you know, us to become better, at least myself as a person, to become better as far as marketing that. And, you know, there's certain areas that you got to shore up and you got to be tighter and you got to be better and really try and present information so that just people have as much information as possible, can make educated decisions. I mean, the many people who take Alpha Brain and have had amazing results, you know, that is, you know, that'll be evidence for, you know, for a lot of people to give it a try. And, you know, if they don't like it, then they can get their money back, and they don't even have to send the bottle back in. We'll give you your money back on your first bottle without even sending it in. So.
Some people have, a lot of people have experienced positive results. I personally experience positive results. I use it every day. I enjoy it. I think it makes a difference. When I don't take it, I feel it. It's not a huge difference, but it's something. It's a clarity. I believe in it 100%. And I've really just like with the cordyceps mushroom supplement. I work out a lot. I eat really healthy. I know for the most part what's going on with my body, and I can feel differences. I know when I'm tired, you know, because of too much, you know, not enough sleep, too much work, whatever. I know when things are in sync, and when things are in sync, and I've taken Alpha Brain, I feel a boost. I feel a difference. But other people, no. Other people don't. Not only do they not feel something, they get sick. Like I've talked to people online, and there's too many of them to ignore it, but they say it made them feel like shit. You know, what is that?
I think there's a certain sensitivity to Huperzia serrata, which is creating an acetylcholine boost. And, you know, that's something that we're addressing in future formulas. It'll actually make somebody feel potentially, and this is this is our best estimation of what's happening, but it seems like the case. When they take too big of a dose, the acetylcholine levels get basically too high, and it causes.
Yeah, I tell people take
reaction.
one.
Take one. Start off with one.
Yeah,
it's best to be conservative. I mean, this is
with food or without food. How do you recommend it?
I like a light meal, especially if you're on taking one. You know, maybe not a completely dead empty stomach, but you should. If you pile it on to a giant cheeseburger, you know, you got so much stuff going on, it's going to be very difficult, and it might just get kind of pushed through.
Does it enhance its absorption using food?
No, it's just enhances its tolerability to a certain degree.
See, it doesn't bother me at all. I take it on an empty stomach.
Yeah, I do too. But it's you know, some people that may actually enhance the effects. So until you get kind of comfortable with it, I think it's definitely best to be conservative and best to take some breaks too. You know, start with one, see how you feel, and you don't have to take it every day.
What percentage of people do you think have an insensitivity to it? It's a very small percentage.
Very small percentage. I mean, overwhelmingly the response has been positive, and we get those people. All those people, you know, contact us for their money back. We give them their money back, and it's a very, very small percent. I mean, our that rate, I would have to say, is less than, you know, 1 out of every 200. But, you know, it is definitely a bummer, and it's something we want to address. And at least, especially by telling people to start conservative with their dosage, and then taking a look at the Huperzia serrata, and we actually have, have some things in mind for the proper proper balances of Huperzia serrata to GPC choline to make sure that those are going to be better tolerated throughout the future of Alpha Brain. So, hopefully, just like I said, you learn and you try and improve and be the best product for everybody. I think for some people, it won't work. And for some people, they may have an adverse reaction, but the overwhelming majority has spoken very positively. And it's great to hear that feedback from the product.
There's one of the dudes who's on the message board. His name is James MMA, very bright guy, and he's one of the skeptics or critics. And you had a conversation with him about he'd asked you, how it works, improving cognitive function, like what the fuck it does. And what you said basically that Alpha Brain is designed to provide the precursors and raw nutrients necessary to raise levels of important neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine, dopamine, and GABA. Now, how is that done? What's the mechanism that allows it to raise these levels of these important neurotransmitters?
Well, it just depends on which neurotransmitter you're talking about. But if you're talking about acetylcholine, we come at that in two fronts. The GPC choline is one of the raw nutrients involved in the production of acetylcholine. So by providing more of the raw ingredient, it allows the body to produce more. And then Huperzia serrata is coming at a different angle. That's actually inhibiting. It's actually inhibiting the amount of acetylcholine that the body breaks down. So it's providing more acetylcholine from a kind of a different angle by actually creating a surplus of what you currently have rather than the GPC choline, which is creating more raw material to provide the acetylcholine. And the other neurotransmitters fall more along the lines of the GPC choline, where you're just providing the raw nutrients to allow the body to take the steps to produce those raw nutrients and turn those into the neurotransmitters. And this is actually another thing. This is the foundation of the new mood formula, which is providing, there's 4 major neurotransmitters as identified by Dr. Braverman. And the other one is serotonin. And 5-HTP is the direct precursor to serotonin. And in the same way, in that product, by providing the raw nutrient that the body then converts into serotonin, you create a surplus of serotonin without having to take any other kind of prescription drugs. And there's actually a cool study on that front to illustrate the point. There's actually been a bit more research on the serotonin effect because of the massive amounts of SSRI and prescription drugs in that field. There's been a good amount of study done on 5-HTP. Dr. Poldinger had a study in 1991 where he compared 5-HTP to fluvoxamine, which is a SSRI. And the study showed that
what does SSRI stand for exactly?
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor.
And that's like Zoloft and Prozac.
Paxil. Yep. And basically it showed that the 5-HTP dosage, which was 100 milligrams a few times a day, was equal to the fluvoxamine in efficacy, but far outpaced it as far as tolerance, just because the body was able to go through its natural process and create more of its serotonin. And the study turned out extremely positively. The problem is that there's no patent available on 5-HTP. So, everybody can go out and get it. They can buy our product, they can buy anybody else's product and get those similar effects. So
I found out about 5-HTP from my friend Neil Brennan. And Neil told me he's on it and he loves it. It makes him feel good. But Neil's also on an antidepressant. Well, his doctor told him to get off the 5-HTP and stay on the antidepressant because he said taking the 5-HTP is like taking a second antidepressant. So I said to him, I was like, whoa, have you ever thought about just taking the 5-HTP? Is that possible? Because it seems like that might be the better move than to have to get a prescription for some shit. And like, you can get 5-HTP at a fucking GNC store in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska. Just show up and you could be on the road. It's not like you're saddled down to a fucking pharmacy and you need to, have your doctor call in a prescription during business hours.
Yeah, well,
that's annoying.
Dr. Poldinger's study shows a lot of those ancillary benefits of, not taking a prescription drug versus taking the natural drug. I mean, you can look up the
Does it have the same effect for everybody? 5-HTP for everybody boosts serotonin?
It does. Yeah, it definitely boosts serotonin. I mean, how can you say something for everybody? But in the people studied, in the many studies that they've done, 5-HTP has shown, a dramatic improvement in those serotonin-dependent issues being.
And the new mood is mixed with L-tryptophan as well.
Yeah, L-tryptophan. So the chain reaction goes: L-tryptophan converts to 5-HTP, and then 5-HTP converts to 5-HT, which is actually serotonin. If you ingested pure 5-HT, the body would destroy it and it wouldn't get anywhere. But following it through the chain, the body's able to do that, especially with the help of vitamin B6, pyridoxine. It's able to kind of complete that chain reaction of L-tryptophan to becoming 5-HTP to becoming serotonin. So New Mood is pretty unique in that it has both L-tryptophan and 5-HTP, as well as the catalyst vitamin B6. So while I'd love to study this in the future, the theory behind it being that we're creating both an more immediate transition between the 5-HTP to 5-HT, and then a longer term transition between the L-tryptophan to the 5-HTP to the 5-HT. So kind of providing a further spectrum along the chain. And then we also combine it with a bunch of anxiolytic herbs to kind of relax you and help with insomnia. One of our herbs, valerian, actually has a similar study. The study done by Dr. Poldinger is comparing it to a prescription drug called oxapazim, which is in the same category of a benzo. It's the same category as Xanax. And it compared valerian to oxapazim with the similar results to the 5-HTP study, being that valerian had the same anxiolytic, insomnia reducing effects, but without the negative side effects of that. So that's another powerful herb in the combination, and a few others as well, just to kind of ease your body into a state of relaxation and positive neurotransmitter boosting fundamentals.
Homeboy had another question, and this was the same dude, this James MMA guy. I think he had a really good point about, he's saying that your claim is that Alpha Brain enhances memory, focus, mental speed, and mental drive. And he said, can we rename mental drive to motivation? First of all, mental drive is like, God, how subjective is that? Like, who can say what's how you're driven? I mean, even if it gives you like clarity, does it actually drive you? Sort of, right?
Sure.
So he's saying, would you say that those four are all of what Alpha Brain is supposed to do? Is there other effects of which you want your product to claim? Then I'd like to hear them as well. All right, now he's kind of being nitpicky.
Well, the dream effect is something that a lot of our the takers really enjoy, and that's caused by, I think I mentioned this in the last time, but that's caused by acetylcholine being the regulator of the REM state. So with more acetylcholine, you have a deeper and broader REM state, and REM being the dream state, you're able to access longer periods of that dreaming unconsciousness, for so to speak, and also have more of a chance of turning those dreams lucid because of the breadth of the dream state that you're in, and also waking up during one of those states in which you will remember your dreams a lot better than if you wake up during one of the really deep, slow wave, non-dreaming sleeps.
Is this theoretical, or is this actually been proven?
You can, as far as waking up during REM sleep, they've proven that dreams happen during REM state.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and they've proven that when you wake up during an REM sleep, you're more likely to remember your dreams than when you wake up during slow wave.
And how does acetylcholine play into that, though? Was it been proven that it has an effect on dreams?
Well, it's just, that's kind of, your cycles are regulated by the brain unconsciously as it goes through. And acetylcholine is, they found, one of the triggers for actually triggering the slow wave versus REM versus interphase 1 or 2, whatever that is. Acetylcholine is the trigger that actually triggers the length of REM sleep that you have. So if you have more acetylcholine available, it's going to trigger a longer and deeper REM sleep.
So should you take Alpha Brain at night to enhance your sleep? Does that make sense, or is that bullshit? Because a lot of people say it makes them buzzy.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it at night. I don't think you need to take it at night. I think if you take it during the day, your levels are still going to be enhanced for quite a while. So I don't like to take it at night. The latest I'll take it would be around 3, 4 o'clock, because there is a kind of a stimulatory effect from the acetylcholine as well. And REM is not the deepest, part of your sleep. It's actually one of the lighter parts. It's not. So it will, I do like to take it a little bit earlier. I still get that dream the wild dream boost where I'm, like the other night where I was pulling a hammerhead shark out of a swimming pool and doing a variety of different crazy things. I still get that boost taking it early in the day, and I think a lot of people will as well. But I would recommend that more than anything. And then taking something like the New Mood, you would take that at night to kind of relax you and still make sure you're getting the most out of the restorative parts of your sleep as well.
To me, it seems like my dreams aren't so cool when I'm tired. When I'm really beat down, I've been doing a lot of traveling. Sure. They don't hit me with this big, really bizarre, realistic style dreams. But when I'm really well rested and I'm taking the alpha
Yeah.
brain, that's when I notice the really freaky fucking dreams.
Yeah.
That's when they're so durable. Like in the middle of the dream, you wake up knowing that you're in the dream, and somehow you stay in the dream. I definitely find that more when I'm well rested, when I'm healthy.
Sure.
You know, I guess then you're calmer. I guess I don't know what it is.
Well, when you're drawn
you're
down,
not as needy when
yeah.
you're sleeping.
Yeah, your body might be pushing you into more deeper restorative, kind of physically restorative sleep when you're in that kind of rundown state, in which case you aren't having, even with the alpha brain present, you aren't having that kind of length of REM and breadth of REM sleep.
So one of the things this guy's saying is sometimes just as something I do know via my own studies in neuroscience, the vast majority of people do not have a particular deficiency in acetylcholine, dopamine, or GABA.
Well, there's certainly different theories on that. I mean, I think in the optimal state of being with perfect diet, perfect sleep, good health, good workouts, and all of that, probably you're optimally functioning. Does that mean that going above optimal functioning is okay from time to time and actually has some benefit and value? I believe it does. I believe you can, even if you are naturally healthy at a baseline, we're not kind of trying to cover a deficiency. We're not trying to cure a disease. We're trying to give people, a feeling, a boost that can help them, function and maneuver and accomplish their goals, whatever varied they may be. So, I think that I do think that a lot of people are a little bit run down, and I rely on Dr. Braverman of the Princeton Brain Bio Lab. He did a lot of work there, and he's doing a lot of active work now as the basis for kind of my thinking on this. But he did a bunch of tests on me, and I'm a fairly healthy dude. I eat well, and I do my best to stay in shape. But all of my levels of neurotransmitters were actually depressed below. And before I went to see him, I'd been doing a little partying. He was in New York, so I saw some buddies in New York, went out to the bars, and it made sense to me that my neurotransmitters were functioning at a lower level at that point, because I could feel it. I was kind of cloudy, kind of groggy, and he pointed to that in all of the myriad tests he did. We did tests over 5 days, blood tests and different cognitive tests and different things, and found that. And I think a lot of people operate on that, just by the lifestyles that they live. They operate in this state where they're under a lot of stress, and they're under a lot of, different things like caffeine and alcohol and these things that are causing adrenaline and different functionality to happen, so that there are more people who have at least temporary deficiencies in a lot of these neurotransmitters. And then for the people who don't, getting this extra boost might just be a little bit over the top.
Well, how many people actually get it actually tested? That's why I get uncomfortable when someone says that the majority of people don't have a particular deficiency in acetylcholine. The majority of people aren't tested for acetylcholine deficiencies.
Definitely not. And a lot of people who, if you talk to
or anything,
yeah,
the majority of people aren't tested for fucking vitamin B.
Yeah, totally.
How many people get blood work to check their vitamin levels? How many people? Very few.
And actually, with vitamin,
isn't that the only way to tell?
It is. And actually, with vitamin D, they're finding massive deficiencies when they're actually doing large scale testing on that. So this is bullshit. Very hard to tell.
So someone saying that is that's a bullshit thing to say.
Right. I mean, but there are certainly a lot of healthy people, and they may have adequate levels, but it still doesn't invalidate the point of having an alpha brain. I still do think that you can feel even better. I mean, these are nutrients that are going to drive you in a certain direction. So, there's kind of both sides of the coin there, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
And here's the subtle yet cunty last question that he has. I'm curious as to why it took so long to answer this question, given that you answered questions before, and I asked this one before I asked this one and questions after, when it should be the easiest question for you to answer. That's a cunty question, sir. That belays, that exposes your cunty nature. That is and his fucking photo of, who is that guy? What's that guy's name? The author. No, looks like Ben Stiller. Sam something or other. Letters to a Christian Nation. What the fuck's the guy's name? I don't know. But he's got an intellectual.
I certainly appreciate all the challenges that people have. I think it's good to think about all these things, and as much criticism as I get personally and as On It gets, I think ultimately if you take kind of what you may call the cuntiness out of it, there's this kind of like real reflection on yourself that you can take a gaze at. It's like fighters who, you either train with people who all love you and care about you. You go with savages that want to kill you and, take your head off. Well, you'll learn more from the savages. You'll learn different things about yourself, holes in your game and weaknesses. So, I think actually, and even talking to you, it's not an easy thing to learn, but learning to just take the meat of the criticism and try and not take the barbs of it. So
right.
to speak.
Well, it's hard. I know you kind of created a lot of what the website is, but I go to the website and there's certain stuff I look at. I'll go, this is a little fucking markety. It's a little. You know what I mean? I will. We'll go over it. We'll go over it because I don't personally think it needs to be that way. I think the product stands on its own, and I think the subject is very interesting. And what I always tell people on the program is just look into nootropics. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you address some of the shit that's been said and let people know there's no evidence whatsoever that any of this stuff is dangerous, right?
No.
What happened to roll on and roll off?
Well, it's been kind of become
New Mood has taken over. New Mood has taken over the rollover and has become a better
that's another
product.
part, the partying aspect. People don't really like
those are the origins of this experiment. But
people for whatever reason have if you can't be a serious person.
So rollover is now pretty much the Shroom Tech.
No, it's
New Mood. And then what's roll on now? Anything?
Roll on kind of got divided into two aspects. It was trying to do too many things at once. So the Shroom Tech Sport provides that kind of energy element, and then the Shroom Tech Immune provides the health element that was missed. That was the second component. So that's kind of been divided into two.
Right.
The real problem is a lot of people automatically assume that people are full of shit. And when you have anything that they can criticize, anything, any weakness in the link that they can point to and go, oh, he sells fucking alpha nails.
Hey, let me see your nails.
He doesn't have alpha nails on.
Right.
It's totally normal. I mean, come on, man. It's alpha nails is like a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Well, you know how that developed. I was with,
a lot of fighters wear nail polish.
A lot of fighters wear nail polish, and
yeah.
one of my best friends is Roger Huerta, and we were talking about it. And all of these fighters still have to go to that Sally Jensen aisle in the supermarket and buy those dainty little nail polishes.
Well, they don't really need nail polish.
They don't, but they can do it, so they do it.
That's if they're fancy.
That's it.
Why do they have Sharpie? Fancy?
Well, there are some benefits. Some of the fighters say that they put it on their toes because if they've been stomped in the toe and their nail's going to fall off, it'll hide that potential damage. Some people just say it. I don't know. There's a few practical reasons. Also, that it prevents chipping and kind of your nail from breaking and coming apart in heavy training. Well, it's kind of like putting a coat of glue over the top of your nail.
Yeah, I think that's why Frank Trigg started using it. They used to call him Twinkle Toes Trigg because he would paint up his nails to protect them.
They could
use clear coat, but they don't use clear coat. They use pink because why the fuck not? Because they're fighters, and anybody who says
I do it once in a while.
They're gay or not. So, but it's it's something that we kind of developed as a different alternative for that. But it's funny. People will people get pretty serious about criticizing
here's some
variety.
Here's some beautiful dopiness right here. This is just cuntiness. This guy's talking about alpha brain. He goes, if you're under 35 and you take it, you're effectively throwing your perfectly balanced neurotransmitter levels out of balance. I wonder if that's in capital the reason why some people say it makes them sick or it doesn't work. Ugh. Just the sick, typical business tactics that virtually everyone in the industry uses. Like, you dumb fuck. Are you not listening to any of this, you fucking shithead? There's some people it can benefit, stupid, and if you don't like it, you don't have to focus on it. If it's not your thing, you don't have to get into it, but people are looking for something to point a finger on.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there that are looking to be empowered by criticizing. Be empowered by pointing a finger. If you don't like it, don't buy it, stupid. And if you're under 35 and you take it, because you've done extensive studies, the exact time when people need it, shut up, stupid. You're just being a cunt.
Yeah, I was well under 35 when I was studied, and certainly not a large candidate for it. And I was shown to be deficient in a variety of these neurotransmitters. And I promise I was as healthy or healthier than a good amount of people. So
will we ever see On It in stores?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on
trying to get my dad on it.
Yeah,
just sell it to him. We'll send it to him, man.
Yeah, we're just
I said
kinda
sell it to him.
developing
I meant send it to him.
We'll sell it to him. We'll sell it to your
Get your
dad.
dad's money, bro.
He used to keep on code Rogan,
Dad needs
Gary.
to come up with the money, bro. Come on, daddy.
There'll always be the advantage of buying it directly from us because we'll be able to honor that money back guarantee. It'll be up to the stores if you buy it in the stores. But
You need to get that on Amazon, man. Amazon's just so
sure.
easy nowadays. It just
sure.
like with food items if any other grocery items, you can have it so it sets every month just to automatically send you certain items. Like I did with coconut water and stuff like that. It's so nice. It's like gifts every. Joe, I'm sorry.
What, Brian? Is that you? Are you there? Anyway, what do you want to talk about?
Nothing.
Okay, good. I got a message board filled with idiots. This why I think borrowing other comedians' jokes on stage is okay. I should pink this guy just because it's so fucking stupid. Either he's trolling. First of all, I know this will be controversial, but hear me out. I think it's okay to borrow other comedians' material because stand-up comedy is a performance art. And he does it in all caps. Why is it when idiots want to make a point and they think it's profound, they put it in all caps? Oh, it's a performance art. Shut up, stupid. It's stealing jokes. It's that simple. He's got a thing about Dennis Leary, about talking about how great Dennis Leary is.
I could hardly handle your message board anymore. I could
It's
hardly
kinda
handle
bad,
Twitter
man.
anymore. Some girl the other day or a guy on Twitter the other day asked my girlfriend if she would like to be kidnapped and raped for a couple of days.
Well, what do you think, bro? You put it out there in the podcast. What do you expect?
No. This is a guy that doesn't know about me or anything. This
How do
is
you
just
know?
a creepy guy because
How do
he
you
does
know?
it to a lot of girls. And you
That's
look at
that's
his
his
Twitter.
move.
You look at his Twitter, and he's just like this angry, like, man, what if I,
Maybe
drive
he's
up
waiting
on-
for a chick to say, yeah, come fucking rape the shit out of me, son.
I almost want to wouldn't it be cool to have your own internet, like it's a friends list of your internet, so everything.
Well,
is,
that's sort of what it is on Twitter. When you block somebody, you find shitheads, you block them. That's sort of what it is with the message board. When shitheads pop up, you block them. But what bothers me, man, is just the numbers on the message board are so great at this point.
Right.
It's like it's gotten to such a crazy point where there's over 6 million posts on this fucking board. Or it's 5,798,000. That's crazy. It's so many people. It's so hard to keep track of everybody. It's so hard to. What you got to do is just weed out the cunts. When you find weeds in your grass, just pull them out and pluck them. But there's so many of them, and there's so many trolls. There's so many people that are just doing it for reactions. Even my friends, like Anon, he trolls all the time, and I just look at the arguments that he presents, and they're just so ridiculous. But then he'll be in a fucking 30-page argument, 30 pages of people biting his troll,
I love
and then
that, though. That's good stuff.
It's so stupid.
If you're in on it, it's great.
It's a waste, sort of. But it's a massive waste. Maybe we should have a no troll zone where you're not allowed to troll one. But it's also an intelligence test to a lot of people because some trolls are so fucking obvious. When people are jumping on them, you're like, God, really? Like the one with the guy who just talked about comedian stealing. Either he's an idiot or that's a successful troll. He got us to talk about it.
Right.
People love that for whatever fucking reason. All these dingbats out there love just getting someone's reaction. Ha! I win. You responded. I guess I win. What a weird way to win. Just be a massively annoying cunt until someone calls you out on it, and then you go pwned. What a ridiculous game you're playing where it's impossible for you to lose. All you have to do is just be really annoying until someone calls you on it, and then you're a winner. Talk about setting the bar low, man. I mean, is that the lowest bar ever? All you have to do is be enough of a shithead that somebody points it out, and then you're a winner. Everybody's going to have to be their own fucking name soon. That's going to fix everything. That's one of the things with Twitter that somebody pointed out that's a really good point. I said most people on Twitter, it's, I look at your fucking name, boom, there's your name. Most people have, Joshua blah, blah, blah. They have their fucking name on their Twitter page.
Somehow Facebook just added my fucking phone number on. I didn't put my phone number on my Facebook. And the other day, somebody's like, "Why do you have your real phone number on your Facebook page?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?" And it's like my app or my iPhone must have done it or something.
Wow.
You might want to check that shit, man, because I didn't do it. And
Yeah, I don't have my phone on anything. That's ridiculous, though.
yeah. And then this Twitter shit, the location, it's set to default on the other day, and I'm like, great, I just told everybody where I live.
Yeah, did you remember I got hacked, my Twitter got hacked, and they were saying something about join a contest, win an iPad too. They got Lady Gaga.
Oh, really?
Lady Gaga sent out a tweet to like 100 million people, whoever the fuck she's got on her Twitter page, about an iPad 2.
Wow.
Because apparently Lady Gaga does her own Twitter, and everybody likes to know that, which I do too. I'm not comparing myself to Lady Gaga. Okay, I'm just saying.
No one can compare to you, Joe.
No one can compare to Gaga. So they can do that somehow or another. They get into your account. Like if you, I don't know what you have to do, but there must be some legal way they're doing it. Because it can't be as simple as they get your password. Because they don't seem to be sending a bunch of other shit out with it. It's just this one tweet that keeps repeating about, sign up for an iPad 2. That seems the one that everybody gets ganked with.
Well, that's a market
They
money
probably
thing.
just have the most machines pointed at hacking accounts.
How do they do that? How are they getting? Are they getting
Just
your
password generators? Probably
Is that
just
what it
running
is?
full time.
It's either passport generators or
Really?
you click on a link and you're not logged in and you log in by
Unless
mistake.
you get like someone hits you with like a keystroke tracker or some other more devious virus like that. But usually it's just kind of password generators.
Are
That's why
those,
having complicated passwords are important?
Are those that common keystroke generators? Like is that what happens? Like, say if you get a virus, what'll happen is like if you go to somewhere and use a credit card, it'll like store that information.
Oh yeah. It records everything you do, kind of like that Droid
client,
shit. Yeah,
IQ client, whatever it was.
yeah.
Have you seen that shit? They found out there was some sort of what is it? IQ client? Is that what it is?
ICQ client. Or, I don't know.
There was a program that they found running in the background of droids that was storing every single stroke that you made, every number that you dialed, every word that you sent a text message, and sending it to a database somewhere.
That's no good.
Yeah, and there's some giant class action lawsuit, man.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for these different things as technology expands. But I don't know. It's difficult to fight.
Yeah, except you have to at least be in it a little. I was talking to my sister yesterday because she's like, should I get an iPhone? I'm like, yes, just get an iPhone. They're like, well, T-Mobile's saying I could have this free My Touch 3G or whatever. I'm like, seriously, get off of T-Mobile, go to Verizon, get an iPhone or whatever. She's like, are you sure? And then she's like asking me these other questions about
But some
technology
people
things.
love droids, though.
Yeah, I know. But
Is that okay?
Yeah. But she was asking me these other questions of technology around her house, and she goes, how much would I have to pay just to get Wi-Fi in my house? Is it like $70, $80? I'm like, what? And she's like, she thought you had to pay $80 a month just for Wi-Fi. And so I had to explain to her like how no, Wi-Fi is just a box that hooks up to your internet that you already have, and then you can use. So for 10 years, she hasn't had Wi-Fi because she thought it was like $70 a month.
Why didn't she ask somebody?
I don't know. I don't
Maybe
know.
I don't know, man. That's just a thing on your sister. I don't think you could use that.
No, I mean, but there's a lot of people that are like that
Technologically.
refuse. Yeah, refuse to.
Yeah.
And my sister's younger than me. I'm like, you should be more of a computer
hip
nerd
to
than
this
me.
shit.
Yeah, you're totally out of it. She hasn't had a smartphone. She's still on a flip phone.
Wow.
And it's just like, come on, you're a younger girl. What the-
Some people, they don't want any more distractions in their life. They don't want to be able to watch TV on their phone.
Right.
For some people, it's porn. Some dudes have a problem with porn on their phone. I was reading about this. Like, guys have, like, fucking gigs of porn on their phone.
Esther has porn on her phone.
Really?
Yeah, she used to.
Sometimes it's grosser when it's a girl. Especially a little one like Esther.
Yeah.
Just thinking about her, just shoving things in there. So as we bring this fucking odd podcast home, we never really did figure out a way to fix this situation.
We flirted with it, but
Yeah,
we didn't drive it
danced
home.
around it, and we just
We gave it the date that's looking around for
we went,
another,
what a fucking
another person
mess.
to take care of it.
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing that's going to happen is some of the people that are in power have to slowly die off. They have to get old and pass on. And then the young people have to move into a position of power where they kind of grow up with the internet and they grow up with a better understanding of how they're perceived and how the world works and how things don't have to be as greedy and fucked up and corrupt as they are. Halliburton didn't have to make that much money. Enron didn't have to make that much money. So much of what happened didn't have to happen. So much of the money that changed hands and so much of the transactions that transpired, they weren't necessary. Like, it got too crazy.
Yeah.
And I think the upcoming generations will see that will be historical.
I think we're seeing it now, and I think that this talk of the return of Quetzalcoatl, the new type of man that's going to change things. I think really what that may be is just the movement, and I think we're all part of that kind of new person that's arriving, that new consciousness that's creating itself. And I think there will be leaders that will emerge from that movement, but the movement itself is what's key. And I think all of us who are playing our part, kind of expanding what we're open to and our beliefs, and both riding that balance between skepticism and an open mind. You have to have both, and you have to have that kind of truth-seeking aspect of yourself to go, find the ways between that Scylla and Charybdis of the skepticism and the too open and naivete, and find where the truth lies. And I think that's going to be the key trait of what we need to do here going forward, and that's going to create the movement that will inspire the leaders, hopefully.
I just hope it stays together in some form. I hope we don't have to rebuild civilization, because that would fucking suck, because I live around too many dummies. There's just too many dummies out there to just rely on the people that are at hand right now and have some sort of an even vote and have everything work right.
Yeah.
It's just, we're not prepared. We're like little children tossed into the woods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
we're not prepared to be running shit. God damn it. Let's keep it together to a certain extent, people.
Sure. Gradual would be better than severe.
Yes,
so
we don't need anything fucking traumatic.
But the more we do preemptively, like the more you go out there and push aggressively now, the better that's going to be. If we just kind of let things happen, that snowball comes crashing hard. But if we're out there pushing now, like we're doing here on the podcast, playing our small part, everybody else playing their small part to open their consciousness, open their friends' consciousness, and find that truth, then hopefully it'll fall a little less hard when it actually comes to crash.
Listen, Aubrey, you got a lot of haters on my message board. One of the reasons is because you changed your fucking name to Aubrey. The other is because you're a little bit too handsome, and dudes don't like that. It makes them uncomfortable. Then there's the marketing stuff, but people always ask me, why am I involved with you? Why am I involved with this? Because I know you, and I know you're a really good dude. You're 100% legit, and the reason why I'm involved with you is because you're that guy. You're 100% legit. A lot of people are skeptical, and I totally understand that. I give you the stamp. I give you a stamp of approval.
Brother.
You're an exceptional human being.
Thanks,
and
brother.
I appreciate it. Every time we talk on the podcast, I enjoy the fuck out of it. I enjoy hanging out with you. It's always cool. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you, even the fucking haters. As we said, without you, we would not have that harsh, brutal criticism that sometimes makes you really see things from a different perspective. Thank you to the Fleshlight. If you go to joerogan.net and click on the link for the Fleshlight and enter the code name Rogan, you will get 15% off. And yes, you will shoot your loads at a discount. It's a fine product, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be scared. Go out and get some. It's legit. I know you're going to masturbate. You know you're going to masturbate. I didn't say that smoothly, but we know what the fuck I'm trying to get across. Thank you to onnit.com, ONNIT. If you go to joerogan.net, click on that link for Alpha Brain, enter in the code name Rogan, get 10% off, or don't. Do you not understand? Our life is not dependent on you following it. You don't have to listen to me. Don't get crazy, though. Don't get upset. Settle down. If you're interested in nootropics, please Google them, read up on them, educate yourself. If you can't afford what we're selling, but you're interested, buy the shit in bulk and make your own and copy our formula. We really don't care. And if you don't like it and you buy it from us, you get 100% money back guarantee. We can't make it easier, bitches. It's impossible to make it easier. So it's a fucking scam going on. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, you fuck. Settle down. Keep it together, bitches. We're all in this together. And shit has just started to get strange. Ice House this Friday, the 23rd, right? We're doing a show? Mm-hmm. And this will be our 2nd anniversary. We are #1 in the comedy section of iTunes right now. Praise Odin. Thank you to everybody who tunes in. And, the thing about the iTunes that's the most satisfying to us is that everybody told us that, you shouldn't have your shit on Stitcher, you shouldn't have your shit on Ustream, you shouldn't have your shit on Vimeo, because then it'll affect your iTunes numbers. The fact that we have the #1 podcast in the comedy section of iTunes on top of all that other stuff that we do, having it out there in an app, having it as an RSS feed, just means that you guys are enjoying it, and that means the fucking world to me, and I could not be happier. We love doing it, we're never going to stop doing it, and we're never going to start charging money for it. It's always going to be free. Thank you, bitches. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
Much love to everybody.
Listen to the Josh Gross interview. If people haven't known that you had Josh Gross, is that his name? From ESPN. Yeah, we just released that episode yesterday on the Death Squad label.
Yeah, we talked to him a little bit. Yeah, we talked to him a little bit about how he can't say that he smokes weed and how he can't.
Yeah,
and that he fucked up when he released the information for the Ultimate Fighter.
Right. Which I think that's just stupid. I mean, I agree. That's a spoiler move. That's like going, "Hey, Bambi's mom died," and that's come on. Just come, don't be like.
Yeah, there's a fine line between a journalist and a spoiler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I see where his point of view is. I disagree with it, though, as far as that goes. I don't want to know the fucking results. Like I told you, I could find out who won. I could find out who won every season. I go through the whole process like everybody else does. You sneak peeking bitches. All right, this podcast is fucking over. Thank you very much. We already did that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did it.
Oh, I didn't know Fleshlight. I thought I heard on it.
No, we did both of them, bro.
Wow.
You're out of it, man. You
love
need some
flashlights.
alpha brain.
I know.
You need some memory fucking electrodes or some shock therapy.
I've been eating my fleshlights and fucking my alpha brains by mistake.
Oh, one notification for those who couldn't get the product in Europe. We're coming up with a formula that's going to be able to cross all the different borders.
What is the holdup in Europe? Where's it illegal?
Different random things. Some of it's even vitamin B6 is illegal in a couple places. Ireland.
Really?
Yeah,
Ireland, vitamin B6. They don't want you healthy, lad. They want to keep you in the dark and fucking pale and angry and drunk and fucking your government's fucking you in your asshole. Thank you very much. That was the worst Irish accent I think I've ever done. It was
but we'll have something out here for you.
Partial Gaelic, and there was a little Australian thrown in there. This fucking show's over. Good night. Good night, everybody. Bye. Love you. See you. See you soon.
Goodbye, everybody. Much love.